folks. Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Michael from Pennsylvania. We are live. The biggest babies in New York City. Several NYPD officers were injured in Washington Square Park after being struck with snowballs, leaving some with facial injury. What, they got a bloody nose? They got bloody nose because the snowballs? Like, what are we doing here? Multiple officers hit with snowballs and injured. Lost to the snowflakes. Also, look at who is the one who is posting this. Zionist. Kelly Aching Zionist. God, how does the hair always lame? Jesus fucking Christ. This is what they're crying about, chat. This is the crime. He got super dunked on. He got, oh my God. Oh.
How you
Oh, he got hit. He got hit. Oh, he got a bad one in the cheek. Oof.
You good? You okay? Let's do it.
Holy shit. Oh, thank you guys for the subs. We got a hype train started. Hell yeah. Clear game. Thanks for the bits. Oh, fuck. I have to fix my activity feed. I think I broke it. What's the filters? All. Okay, there you go. Jesus. Aegis, 73 months. Wow. Welcome back, brother. We are live once again. Thank you for all the subs, folks. New Plattner poll. I mean, he's probably winning by what, 20, right? Oh my God. He's up by 11 over Collins, and Mills is only up by 1. I mean, what's that fucking guy's name? Chat, the dumb fucking right wing, the guy who's like, where are my war besties now? There's that, he's like, I called him a hack piece of shit and he blocked me, which, you know, that kind of makes sense. That was a little bit mean. Hand that sees, thanks for the 5. And an NPR investigation finds the public database of Epstein files is missing dozens of pages related to sexual abuse allegations against President Trump. Other documents that mention Trump have been taken down. Yeah. Oh, what's this? Iran is close to finalizing a deal to buy Chinese-made CM-302 supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles, according to 6 sources cited by Reuters, as U.S. deploys major naval forces near Iran ahead of possible strikes. The missiles, with a range of 180 miles, fly low and fast to evade ship defenses and could significantly boost Iran's ability to target U.S. vessels in the region. Talks underway for at least 2 years, accelerated after last year's 12-day Israel-Iran war. Senior Iranian officials, including Deputy Defense Minister Mossad Orai, reportedly traveled to China during final negotiations. It's unclear how many missiles are involved or whether Beijing will complete the transfer amid rising tensions. However, the potential sale would mark one of China's most advanced weapons transfers to Iran in decades. I mean, the U.S. Navy is struggling. Have you guys heard about the poop flood? U.S. aircraft carrier out of commission due to poop flood. Newest U.S. aircraft carrier out of commission because toilets failed. Although I think of poop flood on ship is funnier, so we're gonna go with that. Like it, their toilets are all overflowing because they have this like overcomplicated, expensive vacuum poop system, and it's just failing. Remember, we spent like $12 billion on this. Why won't the news report this? The fuck? Okay, only NPR did.
The USS Gerald R. Ford has been deployed for 7 months. It's part of the Trump administration's buildup of forces in the Caribbean, but there is a problem on board the aircraft carrier, and it is getting worse. Steve Walsh with WHRO in Norfolk is here to explain. Hi.
Hi, Juana.
Okay, so Norfolk is where the U.S. Navy is headquartered. Norfolk, Virginia. And oh my God.
Problem.
Well, in a word, the toilet. Back in July, I was contacted by the mother of a sailor on board USS Ford. She was concerned about sanitary conditions on the carrier, which had just deployed from its home port in Norfolk in June. A number of toilets were out of commission, and she wanted to know why. NPR has obtained documents that include a series of emails that detail the ship's effort to grapple with the breakdowns.
I mean, that's a reasonable question, and it seems like a serious problem, especially with the Ford being a part of this military buildup, as we mentioned, as the administration applies pressure on Venezuela.
That's right. So that just makes it all the more urgent. To be blunt, it's hard for 4,600 sailors to spend weeks and months on a ship without fully functioning toilets. USS Ford is the U.S.'s newest aircraft.
You know how I always talk about people that understand that what makes war possible is not the battle or even the tactics. It is the logistics. And the reason why the United States of America has been able to dominate so many other countries in the world is because of our mastery of logistics. And like everything else that's failing in the US, we have started to give up on the basics, on the fundamentals. And something like the USS Ford, they were so focused on this electromagnetic catapult system, which, by the way, doesn't work. They cannot launch F-35s from the Ford. So it's our newest aircraft carrier, but it has the oldest planes on board because the new planes can't work. And there are a variety of reasons why they don't work. One of which is that the blast deflector from the jet engines is too weak and is destroyed by the F-35 because the F-35 is a single engine. That is a single powerful engine instead of two engines like the F-18, which leads to higher temperatures coming out of the engine into the blast deflector, which destroys it, thereby making the Ford incapable of launching the newest aircraft carrier rated plane. And now the toilets are fucking failing.
Carrier. It costs $13 billion, and it includes a number of new systems that hadn't been fully tested on Navy warships. The vacuum sewage system was borrowed in part from the cruise ship industry. It uses less water, but cruise ships are very different from warships, and the crew is struggling to keep up with repairs.
So that mother that you heard...
The vacuum system was adopted in part from the cruise ship industry. The vacuum collection holding a transfer system increased in 2025. Holy
heard
shit.
from wasn't imagining things. Seriously, how bad is it?
It's pretty bad. According to an email from the engineering department sent in March, sailors were working 19 hours a day to track down and fix leaks. The email references 205 calls in less than 4 days. Toilets, which the Navy calls heads, can go down for hours in parts of the ship. Once the carrier finally left Norfolk in June, the problem seemed to have gotten worse. In July and August, there are increasingly heated discussions between leadership and the engineering department. Since it's a vacuum system, a problem with one head can cause all of the toilets in that part of the ship to lose suction, making it difficult for the maintenance crews to isolate a problem. The crews find everything from T-shirts to a 4-foot piece of rope clogging the system.
Folks, ladies and gentlemen, the United States is going to fight China as soon as we can fix our toilets. Also, can I be completely honest? This is hell. Not like, try not taking a shit for a day. Like, you know, imagine not having any place to shit. That'll very quickly become the highest priority you have in your life. That'll quickly become the highest priority in your life.
System. But the most common problem seems to be a part on the back of the toilet that comes loose.
Okay, and you said that the Navy's known about this problem for years. So, I mean, obvious question maybe, but why don't they fix it?
Right. So cost is a big factor. The Navy knew about the issue before the carrier was even finished. A 2020 General Accountability Office report says the Navy has a temporary solution to clean the pipes with an...
The 2020 GAO report said the Navy spends $400,000 for an acid flush. They're just... And this is actually something that you would expect. Because our system is so corrupt, now people are starting to get in, like they're starting to profit from the inefficiency. And so we're now just spewing money literally down the toilet because the corruption is so bad. Chat, well, imagine if like the USS Ford gets hit by a Chinese cruise missile and it starts spewing like toilet poop as it sinks and it just leaves a brown streak Oh no. Oh no.
Acid flush, which costs $400,000 each time it's used. Documents we received show the Ford has done this at least 10 times since 2023. It can't be done while the ship is deployed, though, so the crew has been power washing areas with calcium and sludge department. The sludge buildups are happening. So without offering specifics, the Navy said that in a statement that the carrier has seen a decrease in issues as the Ford deployment continues. A long-term solution is expected to be expensive and years away. And Juana, experts tell
That's the nature of VCHT. It's a closed system and thousands of components ship-wide that fail daily. Like, what the... this is supposed to be a warship. What if it gets hit with a missile or something? Oh God, the toilet valves failed. I guess none of us could ever take a shit again? One commode failed. The fragility of this stuff. This is, what was it, $14 billion and you can't even take a shit.
PR that this is one of many cautionary tales for the Navy as the administration looks at designing a new battleship with lasers and railguns and other unproven technology.
Steve Walsh with WHRO. Thank you.
Thanks, Juana.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump will deliver his first State of the Union address of his second term tonight. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports.
The speech is a chance for President.
With one commode control valve failure, depending on the location, it brings down the entire zone. The crew has been reaching out to the A1B propulsion plant planning yard at Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia for answers. The planning yard is part of Huntington Ingalls Industries, which is the only shipyard in the world that builds Ford-class aircraft carriers. The Navy's in-service aircraft carrier program office is responsible for maintaining the carriers. What we want to do is give you a temporary resolution to get your heads into a somewhat functional use until such time 10 years down the road when PMS 312 finally gets around to paying for a redesign. Oh my God. Why did they design a ship just where you poop in the ocean? No, because you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't do that. That would cause this to become an ecological disaster and anywhere it went. It needs to have a functional waste management system. It's not that hard. The reason why it's failing is because they made a vacuum system instead of a plumbing system. The FEMO berthing on my ship floods with shit water every other day. Holy fuck. My God, that's incredible. And this story is getting worse and worse and worse. Like, this is supposed to be America's, like, flagship. What is this channel? God, these AI channels are insane.
11 more. This
The USS Gerald R. Ford arrived at port.
Everything is fucking AI these days, and they all suck. It's actually shocking how this is being buried so much. Meanwhile, the only coverage you're getting from our mainstream media is how, oh, it's in a Mediterranean Sea. But do you know why it's docking? It's because their sewage system is failing. So government is fine literally flushing dollars down the toilet on unproven technology, but we can't get experimental treatment for diseases covered by insurance. What? Of course. Oh, yeah. The Bradley. Yeah.
What?
That.
It's the Bradley.
Well, if that's the Bradley, then what's this?
What's the date?
It's so funny because, like, people will defend the Bradley to this day. And the only reason the Bradley was ever even functional was because we were not fighting real enemies. We were fighting, like, literal guys with AK-47s, and they were still blowing these things the fuck up. Bradleys in Ukraine are fucking death traps, which of course they are. Wait, Forbes? USS Gerald R. Ford seen docked in Crete amid heightened tensions with Iran. Yeah, they need to get them off the ship because the poop flood. They have to get all the sailors off the ship because the poop flood. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I've seen some like stuff on Twitter where I can't confirm its provenance. This is the problem. And so we have a report from NPR, but like that's it. That's all we've got. We don't have any other, because apparently it's being buried by the mainstream media, because this is a serious problem. Whenever the USS Ford wraps up its assignments in the Caribbean, the carrier is scheduled to go into maintenance this year at the Navy's public shipyard, Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia. The Navy has known the system is undersized and riddled with issues for more than a decade. The similar vacuum system was installed on the last Nimitz-class carrier, the George H.W. Bush, in 2013. The carrier experienced similar problems with toilets going offline. The GRF is scheduled to receive VCHT system improvements and upcoming maintenance availability. Similar upgrades on CVN 77 have resulted in fewer VCHT maintenance issues. Fewer? My God, dude. It went from 1,100 to 1,099, resulting in a fewer. Holy fuck. The American century of humiliation continues apace. Carter said the problems with the toilets have gotten better as deployment continues. The average outage is between half an hour and 2 hours, and the problems have had no operational impact, he said. Soldier, we've got an incoming cruise missile. Where's Johnson? Sir, he's in the toilet head line. He's been there for half an hour. Oh my God. And you could just see a bunch of sailors treading water as the ship sinks. So they're like, well, at least I could finally shit. Problem with the carrier's waste system were known well before it was given to the Navy. Part of the solution may include putting more sailors on board the ship to keep up with repairs, though the ship was actually designed to require fewer sailors to operate than older Nimitz carriers. Important to kind of think about, like, we're asking you sailors to live in these conditions, she said. We should at least be able to provide them with living facilities to be able to not to have that kind of struggle in that regard. And it's unfortunate is that this is where we're at. The carrier USS Ford, it was already the most expensive ship ever built by the Navy. And by the way, that's why it's not being covered. The reason why it's not being covered by US media is because we would all be pissed off that we're spending tens of billions of dollars on a ship and the toilets don't even work. So it's not covered by CNN and all these major news media. Like, only NPR is covering it. And don't worry, they're going after NPR to cover it up. It makes us look weak. Yeah. Have you ever considered we are? It is stacked with new technology, and many of the systems had not been proven in the field, which drove up the cost and delayed its delivery to the Navy. Borrowing the sewage system from commercial cruise ships may have been a mistake, says Brian Clark with the Hudson Institute. Maybe this is an example where they should have kept the old system rather than going after new technology, Clark said. A cruise ship has a very different mission from a nuclear-powered warship, which is designed to remain at sea for months. It is a cautionary tale as the Trump administration looks at increasing the pace of shipbuilding, including a proposed battleship that would have potentially even more systems that have not been tested in the field, Clark said. Yeah, one taco night and they're done. Incredible, dude. Incredible. New Dem primary poll. Like, there is a Wall Street Journal article. Oh, thank God. We've got one. Missed funerals and blocked toilets. Iran deployment takes a toll on U.S. sailors. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford's lengthy mission is causing strains for crew members and their families. One sailor missed the death of his great-grandfather. Another is thinking about leaving the Navy after almost a year away from her toddler daughter. Two more said the ship had sewage problems. President Trump's decision to extend for a second time the deployment of U.S. aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford is taking a toll on the ship's sailors and their families, leaving some to consider leaving the Navy when they return to home port. The Ford, the USS largest warship, has been at sea since last June. In October, the Pentagon rerouted the ship from its scheduled Mediterranean mission to the Caribbean to support oil tanker seizures and the U.S. operation to capture Nicolas Maduro. Then earlier this year, the crew got word that their deployment would be extended again, taking them back across the Atlantic Ocean to the Middle East to support potential American airstrikes in Iran. The Ford transited the Strait of Gibraltar on Friday, heading east, according to a satellite photo obtained by the Wall Street Journal. Carrier deployments during peacetime are typically 6 months long, with planners allowing for a few months of potential overrun if needed. But the Ford sailors have been away from home for 8 months already, setting up a possible deployment of 11 months, he said. That would break the record for a continuous deployment by a U.S. Navy ship. One sailor aboard the Ford told the Journal that many crew members are angry and upset, with some saying they want to leave the Navy at the end of the deployment. The sailor said she was strongly considering quitting herself. She misses her toddler daughter, and the unpredictability of when she would see her family again hurt the most. Extensions can mean missing birthdays, weddings, funerals, or a child's birth. Captain David Scarozzi, the Ford's commanding officer, acknowledged that what he called the sting of additional extension, adding it caught even him by surprise. In a February 14th letter to the crew's families after the second extension was announced, he wrote that he expected to be home within weeks, fixing the fence in his backyard. I've spoken to many of your sailors who are coming to terms with missing Disney World plans, weddings they'd already RSVP'd to attend, and spring break trips to Busch Gardens. But when our country calls, we answer, he concluded. You mean when Israel calls? You mean when Israel calls? When Benjamin Netanyahu rings the bell, you rush there like with the figs? Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The sacrifice doesn't sit well with all his crew of roughly 5,000. Many of the sailors on the Ford are men and women in their early 20s who miss their parents and home-cooked meals. Others have their own children. They try to stay in touch with loved ones through phone calls and WhatsApp messages. The secrecy around carrier movements means their communication with their families is sporadic and unpredictable. Other sailors on board the Ford see extended periods away from home as just part of the job. One told the Journal that although the extension was hard and everyone was tired, all the sailors knew what they had signed up for. Ah! They got the gunner. They got the gunner. We know what we were signing up for, sir. I don't have any friends, sir, but this is what I signed up for, sir. Move fast and break things, sir. I have to take a ship, but I can't, sir. Their mission is to make sure that fighting never hits the home front, he said, and that can require long and stressful deployments. Sir, I can hold my shit as long as you need me, sure. Sir, as long as Benjamin Netanyahu is happy, sir. Admiral Daryl Claude, or Caudle, his name is Caudle, Daryl Caudle, the chief of naval operations, lamented extended deployments in a meeting with reporters in January, noting that financial impact on the Navy as well as the burden on the crews and their families. Long deployments could also be hard on the ships themselves. After 8 months at sea, equipment starts to break and long-planned maintenance and upgrades have to be postponed, disrupting schedules at the shipyards, Montgomery said. That has a knock-on effect on the maintenance and training cycles of other ships, he said. It is typical for Jamie Prosner, who lives in Pennsylvania, to not hear from his son, a flight deck controller on the Ford, for 2 to 3 weeks at a time when the ship is in ghost mode, he told the Journal. Then one night, the phone will ring at 3 a.m., and it will be his son calling from a port stop. Prosner's son, who has 2 children, has been absent for the death of his great-grandfather, his sister's divorce, and his brother's health problems during the Ford's current deployment, his father said. He has also been, he hasn't been able to make the needed repairs to his house, such as painting the outside trim. Prosner said his son mentioned problems with toilets on the ship. Whoa! Well, there we go, chat. We finally reported it. Well, we're only how many paragraphs in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 paragraphs deep. Okay. Now only the people with high reading comprehension will be in the article. We can safely report it without going into detail. NPR first reported in January that a number of toilets of the Ford were out of commission. The Navy officials said the Ford sewage system, which uses vacuum technology to transport waste of roughly 650 toilets on board, has experienced issues during the deployment, averaging about 1 maintenance call a day. But the situation is improving, and the problems haven't impacted the carrier's ability to carry out its mission, the official said. They're lying! They're absolutely just lying! Maintaining contact with loved ones is challenging, said Rosarin McGee, who is married to a sailor on board. Rosarin is a frequent visitor of the local bars. McGee, who has been living alone at Virginia Beach for the past 8 months while her husband is at sea, regularly sends him handwritten letters and care packages. She has sent him 17 boxes so far, filled with food and small gifts. I must stay here by myself, no matter how lonely or overwhelming it becomes, she added. Adding that hearing about Trump's decision to extend the ship's deployment was heartbreaking. I need to go down to Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach. Charlene Poston was ready for her son, an aviation ordnance man responsible for loading bombs onto aircraft, to come home on February 2nd, she told the Journal. She and her mother had planned to drive from their home in Canton, Mississippi to Virginia Beach to meet him. They had booked accommodation via Airbnb and a rental car. But on January 22nd, her son texted her to cancel everything because they had just been told of their latest extension. She said she broke out in tears. I'm so ready for him to come home. They're still so young. And to us, they're still babies, Austin said. But her son is in good spirits, she said, and has asked her to send him wipes and cookies. Wipes? What the fuck? Is he an infantryman? Do the showers not work? What do you mean wipes? Scott Tomlin from Virginia said his son, who supervises supplies coming aboard the Ford, doesn't like the food on the carrier. Her son regularly asks his family to send him macaroni and cheese, Spam, and hot sauce. His son's girlfriend starts his truck up periodically to make sure it's still working. Tomlin said his son had told him the sewage problem was under control. The most grievous incident, someone had thrown garbage into a toilet on the carrier's lowest deck. This is so military, where they're like trying to blame the sailors for the system failing and sucking. They're like, it's the sailors' fault. They're not, the system ain't this. It ain't the leave the military industrial complex alone. It's the stupid sailors' fault. See ya, chaotic. And it's not good. It's not good for the USS Ford. Can you imagine spending 11 months on the USS Ford, being ankle deep in shit, and the last thing you see is a Chinese cruise missile streaking in? Oh, God. Oh, God. NAFO slop accounts are flooding the USS Gerald R. Ford keyword with this sort of thing, so you don't see the footage of sewage flooding America's premier capital ship. Oh, no. Oh, God. All right. Chinese, though, are apparently, Iran nears deal to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles from China. Negotiations with China to buy the missile weapon systems, which began at least 2 years ago, accelerated sharply after the 12-day war between Israel and Iran in June. As talks entered their final stages last summer, senior Iranian military and government officials traveled to China, including Musaad Orai, Iran's deputy defense minister, according to two of the security officials. Orai's visit has not been previously reported. It's a complete game changer if Iran has supersonic capability to attack ships in the sea, said Danny Sitrinovics, a former Israeli intelligence officer and now senior Iran researcher at Israel's Institute for National Security Studies think tank. These missiles are very difficult to intercept. Why are they going to an Israeli to talk about the U.S. Navy's ships? What are we, their fucking serfs? What are we, their fucking vassals? What do they own us? Why are you talking to an Israeli? They don't have a fucking aircraft carrier. Why are you going to talk to them? The fuck does an Israeli know about U.S. Navy aircraft carriers? Are they spying on us? Have they stolen the information? Do they order us around? Reuters could not determine how many missiles were involved in the deal, how much Iran agreed to pay, or whether China would go through with the agreement given heightened tensions in the region. Iran has military and security agreements with its allies, and now is an appropriate time to make use of these agreements, an Iranian foreign ministry official told Reuters. I mean, China is not Iran's ally, by the way. That's just not true. China is not an Iranian ally. See, this is one of the things, this is also something that happens on the slop fucking Twitter accounts as well. Like the fake ultras, or the people that are like, people that are lost in the sauce of being anti-American, which guess what? Like, I get it. The American government is disgusting. But then people just start identifying with any group or nation that's fighting the US. And then they start creating these like fan fictions of like China is allied with these countries and they're going to bobbity bobbity. And then it's like, no, China has a positive, open relationship with as many countries as it can. Sometimes those countries are countries that the United States and the West have picked for annihilation. So when you compare China's relationship with them to like the US's obviously aggressive relationship, it looks a lot friendlier because it is. But it's not the same thing as an ally, you know? And yeah, I would be, listen, I'll just tell you that if I were in the Chinese government, if I were in the Chinese Central Committee, I would be a hardliner. You know, I would be a hardliner. I'd be like, let's give them a lot of supersonic missiles. I mean, that's what I would say. If I, you know, putting on the cap where I'm imagining being in the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party and having an input on that decision, my decision would be to give them 250 missiles, pay for it out of our own pocket, and give them an old test against the USS deck. How would they transport the missiles? I mean, over land seems like the wisest way to me. The export version of the YJ-12 doesn't have much range, and given that the U.S. Navy will stay far away, I don't know how it will be used. They should have definitely gone for air defenses and fighters. The problem with trying to buy fighters as a strategy against the U.S. is the United States of America. The only way to really challenge the U.S. Air Force and Navy Air Forces is to have an equivalent Air Force. And the Iran can't afford that. Air defenses and fighters will have a limited efficacy in the Iranian theater, though. No. If I were the Iranians, I would be focused on, I would be undersea drones. That's what I would do. I would have undersea drones. I would try to be setting up. I mean, maybe it's not possible because of how infiltrated the Iranian government is by Mossad. But I would want to have like undersea drones, you know, that had, you know, you have fiber optic cable that goes down to these drones, right? Connects to this drone facility. And then these drones pop up. They're almost like autonomous mines, sea mines. And they go up. I think that's what I think that's the strategy I would pursue, because it seems like that would be a lot less expensive and a lot more difficult to intercept. In a comment sent after publication, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it was not aware of talks about a potential missile sale that Reuters had reported. China's Defense Ministry did not respond to a request for comment. Okay, so the Chinese are like, we don't know what you're talking about. The deal for the Chinese-made CM-302 missiles is near completion, though no delivery date has been agreed, the people said. According to 6 people with knowledge of the negotiations. Who the fuck is that? Oh no. This is Mossad and CIA agents spreading misinformation. Chinese President Xi Jinping told the Iranian leader that China supports Iran in safeguarding sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national dignity. China joined Russia and Iran in a joint letter on October 18th to say they believe the decision to reimpose sanctions was flawed. Iran has become a battlefield between the U.S. on one side and Russia and China on the other, said one of the officials who was briefed by Iran's government on the missile negotiations. Who could this be? China does not want to see a pro-Western regime in Iran, said Sitronovic, an Israeli specialist on Iran. That would be a threat to their interests. They are hoping that this regime will stay. So in other words, the Israelis are like, yes, fight it in Iran. Americans, you hate China, right? You'll be really hurting China. Trump said on February 19th he was giving Iran 10 days to reach an agreement over its nuclear program or face military action. The U.S. is preparing for the possibility of sustained weeks-long operations against Iran if Trump orders an attack. China's state-owned China Aerospace Science and Missile Corporation markets the CM-302 as the world's best anti-ship missile, capable of sinking an aircraft carrier or destroyer. I want to see the missile marketing. I should probably like look at the God, this search is so fucking bad now. Globalsecurity.org. No thanks. It's the YJ12. Okay, we'll try that. Oh, this is a video game. Okay. I know this is unrelated, but that's gonna have to check that out. Okay, we found something. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, why is it got like 5 frames? Why does it have 5 frames? Slowed down to a minute. My guess is this is it right here. Oh, this is a video game again. God damn it. All right, we'll have to find, I'll have to find something else. I saw this TikTok from Yanis Varoufakis about the petrodollar U.S. reserve status collapsing. I was wondering if you could offer your thoughts.
Happened last Tuesday at 3:47 a.m. Washington time. Is this AI? It's like AI to me. Unfortunately, it looks like people are using Yanis for wishful thinking. AI slop. He talked about that with Hassan and Doha. Yeah, it just seems like AI. It's close, but no cigar. All right. I think we've got as far as we could get on the poop deck. But this year, we've got, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is ready to do the State of the Union tonight at 6 p.m. And I have to tell you, the numbers around Trump are collapsing. The major concern I have right now is we need to start going after Gavin Newsom. And obviously there's a lot of money behind Gavin Newsom. There's a lot of Epstein money behind Gavin Newsom. And so we need to start figuring out a way to really attack this fuck.
CNN's Harry Enten is running the numbers on this. Harry, what's your take with what you're looking at on how people are feeling about how Trump is doing in this moment?
Yeah, okay. I would borrow the phrasing of Tony Blair, of course, the former prime minister of Great Britain saying weak. It was weak over there in the United Kingdom. It is weak here in the United States when it comes to President Trump. Okay, Trump's net approval rating. Look at all the pre-SOTUS polls, the State of the Union. Look at this. Okay, we're at this point. Look at that. Negative 27 points. My goodness gracious, the snow is up to the knees here in New York City. And
why aren't these red too? I guess he's trying to say it's much worse. I mean, negative 15, negative 10, but negative 27, that gets red. Those are all red.
Seems to be well underneath it at this point. Compare that to
No, I
where he
haven't
was in
talked about the
2020,
DNC
2019,
autopsy
and
yet.
2018,
I
and
don't
term
think.
one going into those State of the Unions. Minus 10, way lower now. Minus 15, way lower now. Minus 15, way lower now. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump has never been weaker going into a State of the Union address, according to our CNN polling, than he is right now, and weaker by a considerable amount.
So this is his first term to his. How does it compare to other presidents at this point?
Yeah, okay. It's not just that Donald Trump is breaking records compared to himself when it comes to State of the Unions. He's breaking records compared to other presidents at this point going into a State of the Union. What are we talking about? Look at all the 21st century presidents on your screen right here. About at this point in his second term going into the State of the Union. Trump at minus 27 points. Obama was at minus 15 points. George W. Bush was at minus 11 points. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that minus 27 points is considerably lower than minus 15 or minus 11. So Trump isn't just weaker than he's ever been going into a State of the Union address. He is weaker than any other president century going into a State of the Union address at this point in their second term.
Oh, by the way, chat, look at this. Do we know what this is, chat? This is... My nails are extremely short, unfortunately. Yeah, I know. My nails are extremely short. Oh, I got it. I just trimmed them, chat, and they're fucking, like, literally zero. But we got it. Here you go. It's salmon. Here you go, Vio. Oh, wait. The cats. New cats have been acquired. Bro has 12K subs and it still has to eat cat food. Okay, dude, calm down. The new cats have been acquired. Show kitties now. Okay, first of all, a couple things about a cat. I'm a man. They're brand new. At this point, there's no chasing them around for chat. Okay, they have to have their chill time. They have to come to me and see me as calm. They're very nervous. So I'm letting them get, because anytime I move, they go like, oh, they start hiding. So I'm letting them chill and acclimate because they just got here. You need kitty treats. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do after the stream. They just got here, chat. They just got here. Are they kittens or cats? They're like adolescent cats. I think they're like 6 months. So is that a kitten still? I think that's a kitten, right? Chat, Mike will not yell at us for a while to not scare at the cats. We're free. Oh, I'll yell at you. Don't worry. Churu tubes are the most craveable treat for cats. Theo, bring me one, please. You know what you're doing? You let cats come to you. Of course. I am pretty good with pets. See? Well, we have those tubes. We've got all the tricks and the drugs. Don't worry. I adopted a 6-month-old kid about 6 months ago. It's been a ride. Good luck. They are creatures of love and chaos. Cats are feds, but dogs are literally feds. Okay, let me just say this. The SPCA considers a cat an adult at 4 to 6 months. Yeah, I think they're like right on that border. They're out of their pure kitten stage. Dogs are friends and cats are fiends. All right, let's keep going.
All throughout the show as we're going through these numbers, but talk about what is driving this drop for the president.
What is driving this drop? I said record was the name of the game when it came to this segment, right? Talking about the lowest Trump has ever been going into the State of the Union, the lowest that any president has century going into a State of the Union at this point in their presidency. It is also the weakest that Donald Trump has ever been with independents. Look at this drop. We've been talking about it the past few months. At this point, a year ago, Donald Trump was at minus 13 points. Look at this, minus 47 points among independents, the lowest Donald Trump has ever been in either of his 2 terms as president with independents. That is driving these numbers. 7 points underwater with independents. That's the name of the game. You can't be above water overall, and that's why Donald Trump is near record lows overall and the lowest he's ever been going into a State of the Union.
We have a new CNN poll out this morning with President Trump's approval rating 36. That's lower than President Biden was at this 4 years ago, and it's down a year ago, just last February. Just 32% of Americans say the president is focused on the right priorities. 8%. 7 in 10 Americans say he is focused on the wrong thing. The president had
68%. The economy hasn't even crashed yet, bro. Did you guys see what Jamie Dimon said this morning? Jamie Dimon said he's worried. Jamie Dimon says, watch out as lofty asset prices add to economic risks. My anxiety is high. Well, I thought cutting taxes on the rich was going to result in an economic boom. What happened, Jamie? Even as economists tout the Trump administration's tax and deregulatory policies as boosting economic growth this year, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said that his own tendencies were to consider what could go wrong. Have you guys considered that maybe economists are wrong? Have you considered they are literally court magicians at this point? And there's so much effort and money into pushing the type of economic thought that that promotes wealth for the top, and it may not be a neutral fucking profession. Could be something to consider. My own view is people are getting a little comfortable with that, about that this is real, these high asset prices and high volumes, and that we won't have any problems, said Dimon. Inevitably, Dimon said, the economic cycle will turn, leading to a wave of borrower defaults that would broadly affect lenders and often impacting industries few people expect, he said. Do you think there could be someone like Al Green yelling out during the State of the Union, or are Dems still mostly complacent as an institution? I mean, first of all, Al Green is probably one of the more left-wing members of the Congressional Black Caucus, so I don't consider him to be a good barometer of where Dems are at. He's more broadly aligned with someone like AOC than you would think. So I don't think, again, Al Green, I don't think is a good target. The question is, would somebody like, who's someone that I would consider to be more in line with the Democratic Party leadership? Madeline Dean. Would Madeline Dean yell out during the State of the Union? And the answer to that is fuck no. Abso-fucking-lutely not. So yes, the Dems are complacent. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said Monday that he was anxious over the U.S. economy, citing elevated asset prices and a competitive environment in banking that reminded him of the pre-2008 crisis years. I think Jamie Dimon is overreacting. He sounds like he has anxiety. He should just get some Prozac or some edibles and take a walk. I mean, weed makes you more anxious, bro. If someone like him is saying this publicly, doesn't that mean the opposite of what he's saying? My personal, that's a very, hey, chatter, very good question. Very good question. Well put. Now you're cooking with gas. You're starting to think critically. The gears are turning. The neurons are firing. I'm actually very proud of you, chatter. And I don't mean that in a condescending, assholey way, even though I'm kind of joking. The W neurons. The answer is that you should not do something knee jerk like that, where you just go, everything people say in the media is obviously, it's the opposite. No, that's fucking Alex Jones shit. Okay, that's brain dead. However, you should be constantly and critically examining what the motivations could be for someone saying something in the media. Now, what you're saying is that Jamie Dimon is saying this because you believe he's positioning himself long, that he doesn't think the asset prices are elevated. He doesn't think the competitive environment in banking is similar to 2008. In that case, we should look at like the numbers. And he's right. Like factually, asset prices have never been more elevated than they are now. It's like the Shiller price index. Yeah, the Shiller P ratio is like as bad as it was. It's almost as bad as it was right before the fucking .com bubble burst. It's worse than it was before the Great Depression. So like we're looking at, so this is Shiller P ratio is a price earnings ratio based on average inflation adjusted earnings for the previous 10 years. What that's saying is the price of stocks is higher than it has ever been, except for right before the .com bubble exploded. It's worse than it was in 2000 and before 2008. So that is evidence that reinforces what Jamie Dimon is saying, with that asset prices, whether it's homes, whether it's cars, whether it is stocks and crypto or gold, everything is over fucking priced. There will be a cycle one day. I don't know what confluence of events will cause that cycle. My anxiety is high over it, Diamond said. I'm not assuaged by the fact that asset prices are high. In fact, I think that adds to the risk. At the same time, concerns over loans to software companies at the nexus of AI worries have walloped private credit lenders like Blue Owl when it announced it had to sell assets to satisfy investors clamoring to exit one of its funds. The episode, which dragged down the shares of larger alternative asset managers, including Apollo, KKR, and Blackstone, led some market observers to wonder if the start of a broader downturn in credit had begun. Doing dumb things. There's always been a surprise in the credit cycle, Diamond said. The surprise has often been which industry is impacted most. You did expect utilities and phone companies in 08 and 09, and this time around, it might be software because of AI. Try Royerbach, co-head of the firm's commercial and investment bank, said he didn't think issues would likely be contained to private credit lenders, but instead be more broad-based. At this point, it feels a bit isolated to a handful of situations, but that could quite easily change, and we're prepared for that, Royerbach said. In response to a question from veteran banking analyst Mike Mayo, Diamond said the current environment felt similar to 3 years leading to the 2008 financial crisis, is that in that everyone is making a lot of money. People were leveraging. The sky was the limit. JP Morgan chief said that some financial firms were, quote, doing some dumb things that involve chasing interest income, which is made through lending and investing activities, though he didn't name the companies doing so. You feel stupid when everyone's coining money and everyone's great. It does feel really good, Diamond said. And then I think about all the factors taking place. I take a deep breath and I say, watch out. Diamond has also addressed the perennial question of CEO succession at JP Morgan, which he built into the world's largest bank by market capitalization over his 2-decade tenure. Anyway, crypto has been eating fucking shit. Bitcoin is having another down day, down another percent. It's been down almost in a straight line for the last 6 months. After peaking at 125,000 a coin, it's now down to 63,000 in 4 months' time. I thought, I said 60, the previous peak of the last bubble back in 2004 peaked at around 69,000. I thought that was a good number to look at to see if there's any resistance, and it seems to be kind of going right through it. 60,000 would be another number to take a look at and see if a lot of money comes in. One of the largest hedge funds had their bonds downgraded recently to above junk. One above junk, BBB-. Yeah. If Bitcoin goes below 60K, MicroStrategy will get margin called, and who knows how far it will drop. Bitcoin is done forever. Everyone knows it's owned and ran by the CIA now. Alphabet plans to launch a 100-year bond? Who would buy this? Who the fuck would buy this? Would buy this? Oh my god. AI reply. God damn it, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. The internet is getting so fucking garbage, man. What does that even mean? Oh, what does a 100-year bond mean? Okay, so the way corporate bonds work is, let's say you Google wants to borrow $1 million. That's an easy round number, easy to calculate. Google goes to the market and they say, I would like to borrow $1 million. And depending on how long the bond is, there'll be a different interest rate. Now, typically, corporate bond, the interest rates that you get charged on your loan are related to two factors. One, your credit worthiness. And two, what are the interest rates that are currently being offered on safe, investments? And the safest investments that we typically have are treasury bonds of governments. Right? Especially governments that issue their own currency. It's very unlikely the United States of America could ever go bankrupt. They could inflate the currency. They could, they could do something like that. But the United States can't go bankrupt because they can make dollars. All right. So they just make more dollars. So we typically look at treasury bonds as the so-called riskless rate of return. Okay. If I wanted to borrow money as a corporation, the rate of interest would be set related back to probably at least if I'm a AAA rated company, meaning the highest possible, bond rating. That's like the credit report for a company. They get credit rating agencies to rate their credit. That's probably going to be at least, you know, 1.5 percentage higher than whatever equivalent year I am getting from a treasury bond. So Jamie Dimon wants to borrow $1 million for Google. Then you set the year. So what does that mean? Like, so it says US 30 year, US 20 year, US 10 year. What the fuck does that mean? Well, the way that bonds work is that they pay interest only payments. So when you get a mortgage, you're actually paying principal and interest in an amortization schedule. So you're paying the principal and the interest back over time so that when you make your final payment, there's no more payments, right? You just make the last payment and now you're out of debt. But in traditional bonds and loans, they do interest only payments, and then they have what's called the balloon, where you pay the entire principal back at once. Okay, does that make sense? So in a US 30 year, you give, you know, say you bought $1 million worth of US 30 year treasuries. You would give the government $1 million, and they would pay you 4.68%. This is not really quite how it works, but I'm simplifying it. To, you know, every month or whatever, until 30 years passes, and then they give you the $1 million back in one check. So not to bring us back to what you originally asked, what does a 100-year bond means? It means that if you lend Alphabet $1 million, they keep the $1 million for 100 years. But they're paying you interest the entire time. So you're going to get more than $1 million back, obviously, but they're holding it for 100 years. So if somebody's offering you a 100-year bond, that's going to be a lot higher interest than a 30-year. As you notice, chat, that typically the longer the bond is from being paid back, the higher the interest rate. So as you get closer to getting the money back, the lower the interest rate. See the US 1 month? That means treasuries that are going to come due next month. So the principal will be paid back next month versus principal being paid back in 30 years. So that's the answer. That's what a 100-year bond is. And that's why people are highlighting it, because it's like, wait a minute, you think that Google's going to be around in 100 years? I'm assuming if the company goes bankrupt before the 100-year period, you're shit out of luck. The answer to that is it depends. The longer answer is no, but. Why do people do bonds? Well, because with a company, there are two major types of investors. There are equity holders, shareholders, and then there are bond holders. Now, bond holders hold a privileged position over shareholders, meaning if a company goes bankrupt, it is the shareholders that go to zero. And then whatever assets the company has gets sold off, and that money is used to pay back bondholders. So, but if the company owes more money than it has value when it's stripped down and sold off, well then, you know, the bondholders have to take a haircut. So that's why people buy bonds, because you are somewhat more protected against default. However, you don't own the company. Now, shareholders own the company, and if the company does really well, the shareholders are going to see a much higher rate of return than the bondholders will. And there you go. I explained Finance 101. You now know some basic shit. There are like 3 streamers that I think could explain this. It's not even hard. All right, let's go back to the State of the Union shit.
Greatest economy we've ever had. We have the most activity we've ever had. I'm making a speech tomorrow night, and you'll be hearing me say that. I mean, it's going to be a long speech because we have so much to talk about.
I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters. Kristen, I'm going to start with you, and showed the overall approval, but the story is in the poll with several of the. I'm going to start with independent. This is one of the most remarkable stories here. If you look at where the president was in January 6th, the attack on the Capitol, this is in the middle of COVID, 32%. Now he's at 26 among independents, which means only a quarter of independents in the United States of America approve of the job.
Yeah, and he's very aware of that. Now, of course, I don't think any of us are surprised that he's going to be giving a long speech tomorrow. Long in his terms, though. I mean, that seems like it might be really, really long.
I think it was 90 minutes before.
Right. I mean, if he's calling it long, it might be a little bit of a doozy. But, you know, when it comes to independence, when it comes to the job that he's doing, there is a lot of frustration inside the White House. It's not as though he is not seeing these polls. We know that he is reliant on these polls. We know that he is seeing polls polls on a regular basis from his own in-house pollsters. And that's why you're hearing a lot more frustration when it comes to the president, when you're hearing him give these speeches saying essentially, even just now in this event that he was doing with these angel families, talking about how the media never gives him good coverage. He never gets for anything that he's doing. He believes that this is the media's fault, that this is his own PR's fault. And that's the reason that he's not getting the credit. And that's why the polls are bad, not because of what he is focused on.
It's because how people feel out there. And you obviously every day talk to people who are on the ballot in just a few months.
Yeah, and can he actually, I know the answer to this question, but I'll just ask it anyways. Can he actually show some empathy to what the American public is feeling right now, which is not, everything is so great, the economy is amazing, this is the best ever, and trying to cheerlead his way into convincing Americans that they're not feeling how they're feeling? Can he move in a direction saying, we understand there's pain right now that people are feeling, we are working on it to deal with it in X, be very specific. We're dealing with X, we're dealing with Y, we're dealing with Z. That's not really in Donald Trump's DNA. So I think we can expect him to try to convince a very skeptical American public. Like tomorrow is going to be probably his biggest audience he's going to have before the midterm elections, and his opportunity to try to reset some Americans' perceptions of how the job that he is doing.
And there's no way for Trump to reverse this. There's no way for Trump to reverse this. Unless some fucking asteroid hits the planet and he leads some sort of courageous, not you know what I mean? Like he's just, it's never coming back. People don't like him. He's lost his step. None of his policies are going to make things better. Like they can't. There's no mechanism by which Donald Trump's policies are going to make things better. All they could do is pump up asset prices and stocks. That's all he could do. And how does he do that? By increasing speculation, which means so the numbers go up. What's pushing it higher is riskier and riskier borrowing. There is no fundamental, like underneath the economy, it's collapsing. He's building a scaffolding to shove the stock market higher out of wood while termite nests are ravaging the supports. Every plank he hammers into the economy is going to make the collapse all that more severe. But Mike, the Dow is 50,000. No, it's not. It's 48,000. It's already dropped a bit. I do believe by the end of his first term, we're going to see an economic catastrophe. The jobs market is getting softer and softer. And if asset prices ever go down, the entire economy collapses because the top 10%'s consumption is dependent upon rising asset prices. If asset prices go down, the K-shaped economy becomes a down arrow economy. And look out below, because what's going to prop it up again? What's going to prop it up again? If rich people don't see their stock prices going up, if they don't see their paper wealth going up, then they're not going to consume. And middle class and poor people are already cutting to the bone. The economy is going to collapse like 1929. This is what's scaring me. What's scaring me is I don't know how far it could drop. That's exactly what Atrioc said yesterday. You must be a viewer. Oh my God, I'd rather watch my own ball sack get roasted by like, what the fuck are you talking? Atrioc, what the fuck are you kidding? Are you kidding me? The Gavin Newsom fluffer, the ideological neoliberal, generative AI's biggest soldier. This is the economy under Donald Trump.
It had taken Enron 16 years to go from about 10 billion of assets to 65 billion of assets. It took them 24 days to go bankrupt.
The fatal flaw at Enron was pride, arrogance, intolerance.
Well, that's why you guys stole from those poor grandmothers.
We can add a gazillion dollars to the bottom line.
All right, that sounds fantastic.
Did you convert stock worth $66 million?
I don't know. I netted approximately $100 million.
Enron is a company that deals with everyone with absolute integrity.
Talking about my compensation, and if I step on somebody's throat on the way, that doubles it. Well, I'll stomp on the guy's throat.
The other thing about people at Enron is a lot of them were former nerds. You wanted to be the most popular guy on Wall Street, and you were going to do whatever you had to do.
They sought out every loophole they could in order to profit.
The rules weren't quite clear.
They could bury debt, they could bury losses.
An industry that was very reliable for 100 years was all of a sudden turned into a casino.
those guys could just yank the California economy on its leash whenever they wanted to, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it.
He just steals money from California to the tune of $1 million or $2 a day. Can you rephrase that?
Could I predict phony energy crisis as a result of deregulation? Yes. Could I predict that Arnold Schwarzenegger would be our governor as a result of deregulation?
Oh, I didn't expect that. How exactly does Enron make its money?
Accounting doesn't get that creative.
I would like to know if you are on crack.
This is the shredded evidence that came out of Enron.
Everyone was on the bandwagon, and it can happen again.
We are the good guys. We were on the side of angels.
It has evolved to the corporate crime of the century.
The thing about Enron and Enron in particular is that all the things that happen with Enron are what somebody like Atrioc thinks is good, right? Like Atrioc is pushing for more Enrons in the economy. When he wears an Enron hat, maybe he thinks that he's being ironic or something, but in reality, that's what he thinks is the best way to run a society. He thinks that a society is best run by turning everything into a gambling casino.
Yeah, there's still people out in doorways looking for shelter, and I think a lot of people think this is why we shouldn't allow hedge funds to own residential property.
And so what we were talking about earlier, too, is a little bit of the nostalgia aspect, right?
Yeah.
How this feels kind of like back in the 90s when we were growing up.
Yeah, like you were saying, yeah, it was much more snow, colder winters, and again, private equity didn't own so much of the housing stock in America.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's still people out in doorways.
Wait, did they end the conversation immediately as soon as he attacked Wall Street?
Is looking for shelter, and I think a lot of people think this is why we shouldn't allow hedge funds to own residential property.
And so what we were talking about earlier, too, is a little bit of the nostalgia aspect, right?
Yeah.
How this feels kind of like back in the 90s when we were growing up.
Yeah, like you were saying, yeah, it was much more snow, colder winters, and again, private equity didn't own so much of the housing stock in America.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What? She ended it immediately? She ran away? Guys, he's supposed to be doing Blizzard. He's supposed to be nostalgic about the Blizzard. Don't talk about politics on my Blizzard coverage.
Office, but this midterm is going to be a referendum.
Zoran made a snowball NYPD statement. I've seen the videos of kids throwing snowballs at NYPD officers in Washington Square Park. Officers, like all city workers, have been out in a historic blizzard, keeping New Yorkers safe and cars moving. Treat them with respect. If anyone's catching a snowball, it's me. I mean, this is, by the way, chat, this is just complete mayor shit. Who gives a fuck? I think one of the problems that we have with like social media in general is even if you're really good at it, all that happens is that people just start being more and more annoying. Because you're good at social media, they're going to keep riding your dick, and then you can no longer be normal at all. That's kind of like the double-edged sword of the social media savvy campaign, is you cannot just be like normal and be like, hey, don't throw snowballs at people. That's kind of fucked up. He's making light of the snowball incident. He's doing what we want him to do. This is what things, here's the thing that really bothers me. Tish and all these other people are hyperventilating that the officers are being assaulted, and he's making it a joke. And everybody else is like, oh, let's try to make it so he can't do that. So what, Tish goes and arrests a bunch of kids? It's so exhausting to see the online left is so fucking boring, dude. Like legitimately. These police officers were getting hit with ice and rocks, and you're making a joke of it. Yes, that's exactly what he's doing, and it's fucking hilarious. Because it is. They'll be okay, guys. They'll be okay. All right, back to the Donald Trump State of the Union shit.
Them on him, which is why those numbers are freaking out Republicans who are going to be on the ballot in November.
And the neutral centrist option would be to say nothing. He took the right-wing option here. There's nothing right-wing about what he said. There's nothing right-wing about what he said at all. None whatsoever. Right-wing would be like, if you assault police officers, you will go to jail. That would be the right-wing. Like, do you not even know what right-wing sounds like?
Yeah, I mean, independents are,
he said throw snowballs at me. Yeah, exactly.
Not only the swing voters, but they are the telltale sign where things are headed.
And the thing is, I don't even want to spend my time talking about this is part of the problem with being mayor or just politics in general in America today, is that the left, even as it exists, is not in any way an entity. It's a bunch of people that are kind of very anarchic in it's almost like It's informal. It's an informal collection of people, and there's no real like party discipline. There's no direction. There's no investment really. People just kind of associate themselves with the movement while it's profitable, and then the moment they can profit by damaging it, they go to damaging it. It's kind of a vibe. Like the left doesn't even really exist outside of some very, very narrow areas, which everybody tries to associate themselves with in a parasitic way, by the way, not in a beneficial way. And a perfect example of that is Graham Plattner, right? Like Graham Plattner is objectively good on the issues. Graham Plattner is electorally viable. People might attack you on social media because he has a cringe tattoo that he covered up and he was a veteran. And it's not good for your brand to be associated possibly with being pro-veteran or, you know, overlooking his terrible tattoo. It means you're racially insensitive. So your brand could be there's brand risk for you by saying Graham Plattner should be supported. So people run away. So is that helping the left in America? Is Graham Plattner losing? Would that be good for the left in America? And also, notice there's plenty of really solid left-wing candidates all over the country, but they're kind of boring and they haven't gone viral. Mike is anti-veteran? No. I'm one of the few people saying Graham Plattner is based. And so because people are kind of boring and they haven't gotten viral, then none of these online leftists talk about them at all, no matter where in the country they live. They don't even live anywhere really. They live in leftist land, which is I only talk about people that are already viral so I could try to grind out a few more followers. It's actually, you know, it's one of those things that is I'm starting to see this kind of function, and I'm like, how do we move on from that? How are we more viable in our strategies? You know? Zoran has a magnifying glass on him. What he says now is more important than ever. He chose to say respect cops. And I think that's part of why I've been, you know, resistant to the, as I said before, anarchist praxis, right? Which is exactly what I'm talking about. If you are mayor or president of the United States of America, you are going to have to interact with some of these institutions that do serve some function in society. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. In a large city, you may not be aware of this because you probably have never had responsibility for a large number of people. And because you're also incurious. So the thing is, like, whenever you live in a city, you must have capabilities to prevent major problems that arise from having a lot of people in a small area. Things like crowd control have to be practiced, and they require authority. If you don't perform crowd control, literally thousands of people will be crushed and trampled to death on a regular basis. The reason why it does not happen is we have systems in place to prevent it. This is a just reality. If you don't know that, it's because you are uneducated. You just don't know about how things function around you. Now, people throwing snow at cops, the reason why Mamdani had to respond is because the right wing was trying to cook up a scandal. And if Mamdani just let it kept going, then people would start be targeted by police. Tish, centrist Democrats were starting to work with right-wing elements within the city to try to target people who threw snowballs. Zoran's statement is diffusing it and making light of it. That's just how it works. That's called, like, come on. Like, what are you talking about? We have to explain this non-issue to baby leftists. It's part of what I was saying before with the parasitic nature of online self-brand building. This is not a story that I want to talk about because it's not relevant. The snowball fight shit is not a discourse I give a fuck about because it's not relevant to literally anyone. But the reason why it's become relevant on my stream is because of the parasitical nature of the online left brand building people who are they're interacting with Zoran because he's popular on social media. So everything he does, they're interacting with because he gets a lot of clicks. So they're just acting parasitic. They're not, that's all it is. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit about this at all. Like, it's not relevant to politics. It's not a sign that he's becoming right wing. It's not that. It's nothing. It is somebody threw some snowballs at some police. The right wing tried to cook up a big scandal about it because they're always they're always constantly doing the outrage machine shit. And the reply guys got in there, and in order to make their post interesting, they have to spin it into some sort of grand important thing that happened. It did not. It's not important. It doesn't betray anything. You need to log the fuck off. And like, that's what I was talking about with like the parasitical nature of the online left, right? Like, a lot of the people on the online left, they're not part of anything. They're not responsible to anyone. The only thing they're responsible to is their metrics going up. So how do you drive your metrics up? Well, you constantly interact with whatever's viral in the moment, you know? But the problem is, like, the way that human psychology works is that we consider every single one of these like pieces of adverse information that's injected into our brain as if it's a slight, as if it's a mistreatment. Because you have a parasocial relationship with Zohran Mamdani, you treat every single one of these like slights that are invented for the purpose of pushing someone's fucking algorithm slightly higher as if it was some sort of like political betrayal. Zohran saying, hey guys, don't throw snowballs at people against their will, is now turned into Zohran is pro NYPD and he is protecting the cops. And it's like, you just made up. That's just, you're insane. That's an insane statement. You've said an insane thing. Like, you have done something insane. Right wingers get to feel like they won. Mamdani defends cops. No, he didn't. No, they don't. To them, winning would be arresting people, which that's what they were pushing for. They're pushing to raise the temperature. You guys are helping them. You're helping the right wingers. You're making the snowball fight into a national political culture war. Who gives a fuck? You think we're gonna win if we're litigating snowball fights? What did they fucking win? Like, Jesus Christ. What the fuck are you talking about? I know he didn't defend cops, but they think he did. So what? So the fuck what? Who cares? Governor Janet Mills of Maine is committing to 5 debates, 3 of which will be televised against Graham Plattner. He should not do this many debates. He should not do 5 debates. She's getting fucking owned. Why the fuck would you do this many debates? He should do like, maybe he should like slow roll the debates. Everybody, whenever somebody's losing an election, they start getting they want more and more debates because if you're already losing, then there's no risk. Being shitty to officers not engaging in bad behavior isn't going to do anything to fix the problems with policing at an institutional level. It's masturbation. No, it goes back to the way that people engage with politics is very much egotistical. And what I mean by that is, like, people put in the bad people box, right? And so when bad things happen to people in the bad people box, I feel good. And anybody saying, don't do something mean to the bad people box, they're ruining my fun. And they're now part of the bad people. They're now bad people defenders. And it's like, yes, cops are obviously fucking ACAB is true, but that's not politics, man. That's not power, man. You're just going like, what do you imagine a good response to this would be? Zohran coming out and say, everybody snowball, throw ice blocks at every cop's head right now. Is that what you want him to say? Like, what the fuck are you even looking for? Like, are you fucking stupid? Everybody, make sure that you pack rocks into your ice ball and throw it right at the cop's eye. Woo! Like, that's what you want him to do? Like, are you 5? Meanwhile, I'm no longer talking about the State of the Union with Donald fucking Trump. I'm not talking about a myriad of other important issues, like the fact that Trump is threatening war with Iran. I'm not talking about the fact that Graham Plattner is now leading by 11 points in Maine on a pro-Gaza, anti-Iran war, pro-Medicare for all platform. You know, the shit that actually matters. The political masturbation and immaturity of the online left needs to be called out for what it is. It's bullshit and it's boring and it's a waste of fucking time. Yeah, NPR reporting that Trump is removing mentions of himself from the Epstein files. You know, the actually important stories of the day. We have a pedophile billionaire cabal that despises Zohran Mamdani in AOC, by the way. And you're spending your time trying to say that he's pro-cop because he said, please don't throw snowballs at city workers. Throw them at me. Zohran should have launched a cultural revolution against the cops instead of sheepdogging the revolutionary potential toward the right wing. I honest to God don't know if you're kidding or not. I legitimately don't know if you're kidding or not. I know you're okay. He says he's kidding, chat, but I legitimately, if I went into say like a Cinemarxism stream, that legitimately would be a post and they would be serious. You know what I mean? Like they would be posting that. If I went into like Hoscord, they would be seriously posting that, right? And the thing is, like, the Cultural Revolution in China happened after they won the Civil War, not before. The Civil War was won by, guess what? Bringing in a lot of veterans. They let people switch sides who were really evil. They let people who had been fighting against the revolution with guns, to switch sides. And they forgave them. Guys who had shot communists decided to switch sides and repented. And they were welcomed with open arms. Is that something that you can recognize? And then later, after total victory, then he had the fun of doing the fucking land reform movement and the Cultural Revolution. Those are the rewards for winning. First, you gotta win. That's what anarchists don't understand. They think that you could do it all at once. You don't get to have that kind of fun until you win. Winning comes first. Yeah, it was a mistake to allow the Confederate to switch sides so easily. We are dealing with the ramifications of, are you fucking serious? They wouldn't have won. The reason why the communists won in China is because people saw them as open-armed. They saw them as people that, hey, as long as you're willing to denounce the bad shit, they will welcome you. It was liberatory. It was a feeling of justice and forgiveness. That's what led to the reason why, that's why Mao won. Because people felt like they could finally break out of the oppression that they had been subjected to and complicit in. That is the key to leftist victory. You can't just do this kind of like inquisitorial, fundamentally reactionary mindset of seeking out sin and punishing sin. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you people? Don't you understand like even basic human psychology? I think a lot of you motherfuckers would be right wing. If you had slightly different material conditions, a lot of these motherfuckers who think of themselves as the most radical are really just right wing as fuck. They're so eager. They want to do this inquisitorial fucking like strategy. And it's like crazy, dude. Mike, do you think MAGA will do that given the chance to break from Trump? As long as we're focusing, okay, I believe in punishing the right, but it's about punishing the right people. Every single person who has ever voted or done something right wing, because that is everyone. There's fucking misogynists who consider themselves leftists. Even if leftists don't allow veterans in the tent, it won't stop leftist veterans from fighting for what's right. So it's just division for a superficial cause. First of all, it's not even, first of all, what tent? What fucking tent? What fucking tent are you even talking about? What fucking tent? You don't even have a fucking tent. A hypothetical tent. They've already learned how to be self-righteous. They're not interested in learning a new skill, managing society. That's what separates me from almost every other online leftist. I care about managing society. I care about actually making sure that when we win, water keeps flowing in your pipes and food still arrives in your fridge and the internet still works and electricity still works. And when you go to the hospital, they still have supplies. That's what separates me from a lot of other left wingers. I understand the fragility and how difficult modern society, even the flawed one we have today, requires a tremendous amount of organization and skill and effort and production. You can't abandon that responsibility just because you feel like you are more moral. Fucking liberal. Jesus Christ.
With regard to there's a major election, really, really bad.
Should the Deb platform have an explicit neo-reconstruction platform? I think that's one of those things that probably should not be spelled out in black text, but among the elite, left wing, we should have that as a kind of unified goal, kind of an unspoken goal, which is, power map, recognize the institutions and organizations that are our enemies, and then ruthlessly use the state to crush them, but do so without being so explicit. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Evangelical televangelist scam religion, where like the demons are stealing $100 million from grannies and buying private jets, and then they donate hundreds of millions of dollars to the Republican Party. We should be going after those churches and fucking removing their tax exemption. We should be investigating them with a fine-tooth comb for, misappropriation of church resources. We should be like taking their fucking licenses, and we should be going after them for every crime we can find with a fine-tooth comb. We should set up an FBI division that's focused on investigating criminal activity and televangelist conservative shit. We should go over them with a fine-tooth comb. That is the type of stuff I'm talking about. That is the reconstruction I'm talking about. We have to go and find and root out the institutions of the far right. And, evangelical televangelist scam religion is an example of that. Breaking up right-wing media. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Destroying Sinclair Media, destroying News Corp, destroying Fox News, breaking up, all the Ellison's, ownership of these various things. That would be something. Nationalizing oil companies. There's a lot of, those are the structures that should be our target.
For Republicans, the Latino vote. This is another stunning change for the president. This is 1 year ago. If you look up on the screen, 1 year ago, February of 2025, 41% with Latino. Now, literally plummeted to 22% approval ratings.
Yeah, and that was really one of the big questions for election, was whether the support that the president had gotten from Latino voters will hold. We started to see some cracks in that coalition, thinking back to the New Jersey governor's race, where Mikey Sherrill made up a lot of ground with the Latino voters who had shifted towards President Donald Trump. But there's frustration within the Latino community about those same issues troubling everyone, cost of living and the economy, but also the approach to immigration. And so it'll be interesting to see if there is any way for Trump to kind of gain that type of ground back, but also what it means for other Republicans. I'm thinking about all those districts down in Texas, where you have large Latino populations that they felt were shifting towards Republicans. That may not exactly be the case.
And Emily, I know you're seeing some of this already play out in the special election in Georgia to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, I was interested this week, and this is a group of people who are reliably conservative, who helped send Trump to the White House twice, but they're also independently minded, so they don't like being told what to do. They don't just listen to the president based on what he says now that he is in the government, which this group of people is very skeptical of. And so you see one of the main issues that is resonating with those folks is still immigration, and so the White House feels pressure, I think, responsive to that base, responsive to others like them, to keep hammering that issue home, but then it is alienating some of these other voters who you talked about. So it's like a delicate dance.
It's remarkable, just on the polling about how the demographic groups, he's really underwater with everybody. Yeah. I mean, he's struggling with Latinos, black voters, where he made gains with black voters, at least better than previous cycle. He is really struggling with black voters, with younger voters. It's just across the board, which is what's so stunning about those numbers.
He's plummeted among young voters pretty much the amount that he did with Latino voters. And then just looking at the issues that people want the president to talk about in his address tomorrow night. I mean, nothing even comes close to the economy and cost of living. It's really stark to look at that at the top of the screen, and foreign policy, where he has been spending a lot of his time, it barely even registers there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually the first time I'm looking at all of the columns together, and I think that's pretty stunning, the fact that the focus is the economy and the cost of living. And I think this is also where President Trump's strengths are some of his greatest weaknesses, right? One of the things that we heard from President Trump on the campaign trail was this idea that he was able to really fixate on a topic like the economy and drive home why it is that he cared so much about it and why he thought he could do a better job. This is also his detriment, because when he goes up there now, he doesn't want to talk about the economy. He doesn't want to talk about cost of living. He knows how people feel. He wants to talk about other things that he's doing, like the positives he feels he's doing when it comes to immigration. That's not what people want to hear. So the more they hear about that, the angrier or more frustrated they get that they're not hearing about what he's doing on the economy. He himself wants to focus on anything but where he knows people are having issues with his performance.
I just want to quickly listen to some of the comments from people who responded in this poll. Republican from Pennsylvania, Republican from Ohio, and then a Democrat from...
The cost of living, the cost of groceries, the cost of gas.
Okay, chat, look at this guy. How many of you, if you saw a picture of this guy in your replies on social media, would go, yep, that guy disapproves of Trump? And if the answer to that is, oh, I would say that he would never disapprove of Trump, you have got social media brain. And that is the problem that's why, like, when Hassan went to Minnesota, and it's something that Hassan and I talk about all the time, which is if you are in only social media bubble, you need to get out there. You need to get out there and do things in the real world. It's why DSA, you can basically tell if someone's a LARPer or a fake if they are constantly shitting on DSA or PSL or whatever, and they're not part of any org. and they're posting on social media 24/7 about the left, but they're not part of an org, you could just disregard them, literally. Because you need to understand that there are literally millions of white middle-aged men who love socialism, would vote for Bernie Sanders. If you don't understand that, then you're fucked up. You can't look at someone and then know what their politics are. Sometimes you can get indications, and there are some things that are more revealing than others, but you need to get out there. Categorizing and stereotypes are right-wing, they're reactionary, and more importantly, they're fucking lazy. I'm the only person telling you to get active and stop being a lazy piece of shit. Dude, you asked us to make a judgment based on good looks alone. I would have done that if you had asked me to. Yes, but the point is you did one. You had a thought in your head. You had a belief. DSA guy, she would support Israel. DSA a joke, having a vote for Zionism. What the fuck are you talking about? I think whatever drug you're abusing has interfered with your ability to type. Try again.
It has come down a little bit, but I don't think it's come down enough. I'm retired. My wife is retired. We're on a fixed income.
I would like President Trump to talk about the economy and cost of living because it is so difficult at this time to provide.
As a retired public school teacher who worked my entire life, I'm struggling in ways I never expected at 75 years old. Everything has become so expensive.
And that is what the president is up against in his big speech tomorrow night.
And notice that every single one of those things, they are about concrete, material shit. It's cost of living. It is economic policy. That's where we on the left have an opportunity to reach out to people that we never had a chance to before. This is one of the problems where being an old leftist could be an issue, because you start getting accustomed to the world as it was when you became a leftist, and you never update your priors. You take a lazy, non-intellectual approach, not constantly reevaluating, not constantly rethinking, not constantly seeing whether opportunities have expanded or conditions have changed. That's what you must do as a left-winger. Things are not the same they were 2 years ago. They're not the same thing they were 7 years ago. They're better, but they also require us to become more sophisticated, not less.
On the left, rioters breached the U.S. Capitol. On the right, a mob storms Brazil's highest court. 2 capitals, 2 insurrections, similar playbooks.
Chaos in Brazil as thousands storm the country's capital protesting October's election results.
This is an incredibly dangerous situation that's unfolding here in the United States.
2 years after the January 6th attack in the U.S., thousands of supporters of right-wing former President Jair Bolsonaro smashed their way into Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential palace. The parallels are unmistakable: an insurrection, mob violence, and a losing candidate who refused to concede.
Jair Bolsonaro refuses to say he lost his country's presidential election, despite the fact that he lost his country's presidential election.
You don't concede when there's theft involved.
Yet today, one leader sits in prison with a 27-year sentence, while the other, well...
Congratulations, Mr. President.
So how do 2 democracies facing similar threats end up here? And what can the U.S. learn from Brazil about how to stop the rise of authoritarianism in Trump's second term?
Is it Bolsonaro
Jair
against Lula and is leading in the polls? His son? I don't know about that. The thing about Lula is he's been constrained by having a right-wing Congress. He hasn't been able to really push a lot of left-wing policy because although he won the election, the Bolsonaroites overperformed at the legislative level. Surrounded by union workers, Zoran Mamdani promises to make sure that taking sick leave won't cost you your job. New York City will start investigating employers where more than half their workers take no paid time off in a given year. Notice how this isn't being talked about, but what is being talked about is the dumb fucking snowball. You guys are being psyoped. You guys are being psyoped. No, he's betraying us. He said don't throw snowballs at people. He's betraying the left.
Known as the Trump of the tropics.
Hysterical.
He's a special man, doing very well. Temos muita coisa em comum.
Both presidents denied all responsibility for the insurrections.
Bolsonaro, who landed back in Brazil at the end of March after 3 months in the US, has denied any involvement.
Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
I had nothing to do with that.
But their two governments responded very differently. In the U.S., the Democratic-led House moved quickly.
Tonight, the historic moment in the House, voting along party lines to impeach President Trump.
But while many Republican senators spoke out in the immediate aftermath,
they tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed.
We saw a terrorist attack on the United States Capitol. It was despicable. It was an assault on the citadel of democracy.
Most voted not guilty. And in the end, the Senate fell short of the 67 votes needed for a conviction. And in Brazil, Congress didn't provide an effective check against the former president either.
Well, impeachment against Bolsonaro was never really in the cards.
That left just one institution with the power and the will to hold Bolsonaro accountable: the Supreme Court. At first glance, Brazil's Supreme Court looks a lot like America's. Justices, robes, class photos. But its court's powers are slightly more broad, in a way that's pivotal to this story. Brazil's constitution was written in the wake of a military dictatorship that ran the country from 1964 to 1985. Its authors included extra protection against potential abuses of power. So they gave the Supreme Court an authority America's does not have: the ability to try criminal cases involving high-ranking officials, including the president. Brazil also has another powerful federal body that doesn't exist in America: the Superior Electoral Court, or TSE, which enforces election law and regulates campaigns. And in 2023, the same man sat at the top of both courts: Justice Alexandre de Moraes. Moraes had been a longtime adversary of Bolsonaro and his supporters since 2019, when the court launched an investigation to crack down on election misinformation spreading online.
That made him the sort of antagonist to the Bolsonarista movement and a lightning rod for far-right vitriol.
So when the insurrection happened on January 8th, Moraes and the court were very well positioned to act quickly and forcefully. Within hours of the attack on the Capitol, the Supreme Court began an investigation into efforts to undermine democracy. And by the next day, the court and federal...
I think the only thing I would say about Brazil is I think they should probably fast track an execution of Bolsonaro. And I think they're being too gentle on the Bolsonaro rights in general. You know, I think treason is one of those things where I don't necessarily think you should kill a whole bunch of people, but like the very inner core of a treasonous movement should be hanged. It's really the only way to be sure.
Police
were already illegal in Brazil. Yeah, I know. It's a real shame.
Issuing mass detentions and search warrants.
Bolsonaro was quickly put formally under investigation for inciting the riots.
Meanwhile, the Electoral Court banned Bolsonaro from holding office again for 8 years.
The Supreme Electoral Court found Mr. Bolsonaro guilty of abuse of power.
And months later, the federal police made a huge discovery: that Bolsonaro wasn't just inciting an insurrection. He was actually planning a full-on military coup.
Investigators found throngs of documents and even one plan to assassinate Moraes, to assassinate then President-elect Lula and his Vice President Geraldo Alckmin, was printed out in a computer within the presidential palace by a former military aide of Bolsonaro. Everything was very well documented and poorly disguised.
It was that evidence that allowed Brazil's Attorney General to bring criminal charges against Bolsonaro and his co-conspirators.
E hoje iniciamos o julgamento e as conclusões das importantes ações penais relacionadas à tentativa de golpe de Estado de 8 de janeiro de 2023.
The Supreme Court tried the case with Moraes as presiding judge. The trial took 5 days and was broadcast nationwide. And in September 2025, in a 4-1 vote,
former President Jair Bolsonaro has been sentenced to more than 27 years in prison.
So what Moraes did was change completely the way to handle Bolsonaro, and many of his critics say that he was overreaching, but many of them recognize that at that particular moment, the goal of saving democracy was far more important than anything else.
quick but important interruption. I just want to take a second to thank our Vox Patreon members.
The vid on Bannon is worth a watch. The creator of the alt-right. Oh God, this actually seems kind of based. I honest to go. Oh, sorry, Chad. I had to take a note. I got an idea and I had to take a note. Sorry about that. Sorry for like getting silent. I was writing a note down because I got a good idea.
Down for a moment, because this part is important. We can't give the Supreme Court all the credit here.
If you say they played a crucial role, I think that's undeniable. But they were not acting in isolation.
Moraes may have led the charges against Bolsonaro, but he needed the backing of his fellow justices every step of the way. And those justices didn't get there by chance. They were appointed by presidents and confirmed by the Senate. So why weren't the other justices more loyal to Bolsonaro or the ideological right? That's in part because Brazil's political system isn't divided into two opposing camps the way that America's is.
The dynamics of Brazilian politics are not as clearly left versus right, and we have more than a dozen parties represented in Congress.
The sheer volume of parties in Brazil encourages negotiation and constant coalition building over rigid loyalty to one party or one president.
In the US, if you're a member of Congress, either in the House or the Senate, and you get kicked out of your party, there's essentially nowhere else to go. So any Republican politician, if they go against Trump, they are essentially risking political death. And in Brazil, it's not like that.
That same logic applies to Brazil's Supreme Court.
We have 11 justices, and they don't necessarily vote across party lines. And actually, what history has proven is that the more they are on the bench, the less attached they are to the parties that put them on the bench in the first place.
In the US, Supreme Court judges are incentivized to act as proxies for political camps, even though they're supposed to be nonpartisan. And you can see that play out clearly when the criminal case against Trump reached the Supreme Court. The 6 justices who were appointed by Republican presidents voted to increase presidential immunity, while the 3 appointed by Democratic presidents voted against it. So all of the charges against Trump were dropped.
I think that can only be understood through the pretty inarguable fact at this point that Supreme Court justices are partisan players.
That's the ultimate difference between the two outcomes. Brazil's court constrained presidential power, while America's court actually expanded it. Brazil's response to Bolsonaro didn't come out of nowhere. It was shaped by the experience of living under a military dictatorship that didn't end that long ago. And that recent history meant the warning signs of authoritarianism were easier to recognize because they'd seen them before.
Americans often take democracy for granted and think that authoritarianism is something that cannot happen to them. And Brazil reminded us that authoritarianism is still a very alive threat, and that we have to keep on fighting to protect democracy in the best way we can.
The US has been a democracy for over 200 years, and that stability can sometimes work against it.
Checks and balances and constitutions do not enforce themselves. They are not magical documents that will protect us if we only recite them, by heart.
Brazil's government is far from perfect.
Brazil protected and saved democracy, but it did not fix democracy. Political polarization remains rampant, the courts are still contested, and we still have an unhealthy level of political calcification. But that just proves the point that it is something that we have to keep on doing day in and day out, and it is a task that will never end.
So what happened in Brazil matters. Not because it offers a perfect model, but because it shows that democratic institutions only work if the people inside them decide to act.
Wow, that's what I've been saying. It's almost like Mike is fucking right about everything. It's almost like that's been exactly what we've been saying on the left for fucking, 20 years now? That's exactly what we were saying. You called it Green Lantern theory. You said that the filibuster needed to be protected. You said, don't be mean to Joe Manchin. You're the people that were saying, don't scare the hose by passing policy. You were the ones saying, move on from Bush. That's the Vox people. You figured it out. All right, chat. This was the polling I was referring to regarding Bolsonaro's son versus Lula. He isn't leading, but he's gaining ground. Oh, okay. So you're wrong then. So you're just wrong then. Bolsonaro's winning, not winning at all. I mean, honestly, like, all that's happening is basically the kind of right wing is coalescing around him. But Flavio is nowhere near as popular. So, I mean, hopefully that hopefully Lula is able to surge. Hopefully Lula is able to surge. But putting his dad in prison certainly seems like it hasn't hurt. It hasn't hurt him. Seems like it was at most neutral. Wait, ICE stopped by security. Instagram link. Decision desk guy. I look at this poll and I see a grossly unfair reality for female candidates and electoral tired of fighting uphill against said dynamic. Loser. Fucking loser. Pathetic loser. All right, chat. We have a new poll. By the way, 462 is a huge sample size. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. God, people say dumb shit. Why do people say dumb shit? Here's how you do it, chat. The margin of error for like 462 would usually be about plus or minus 4.5. Plus or minus 4.5 is the margin of error for around 462. Let's see what the pollsters say it is. That's my kind of back of the envelope sense, because I've looked at so many polls in my life. 462 is a fine sample. Okay, what do they say their margin of error is? God. Oh, the margin of the sampling error for this is 2.9%. Where's the next one? The findings are based on the latest pine tree sample poll by the University of New Hampshire. 338 Maine residents completed the survey. Oh, see how it's 522 live in Maine's 2nd district, and its margin of error of 4.3%. 406 is 4.9%. So I was literally correct. It's literally 4. God damn, I'm good at this. What the fuck? I was directly on. 450 whatever would be around 4.5 margin of error, plus or minus 4.5, which is a totally fine margin of error to look at, especially when a gap is this big. Graham Plattner 64%, Janet Mills 26%. Most socialists, majorities of progressives and moderates prefer Plattner, while liberals are split between Plattner and Mills. Plattner continues to hold a wide lead among those aged 18 to 34, while Mills holds a small lead among those aged 65 and older. It's very important that you understand how ultras online are literally, like on Twitter especially, basically represent no one. I'm literally going to send this to Hassan. I'm going to send this to Hassan and be like, LOL, LOL. Plattner is quite popular among likely Democratic primary voters. 71, oh come on, holy shit, dude. Holy fucking shit, dude. 71% have a favorable opinion of Plattner, 14% are neutral, 11 have an unfavorable, and 4 don't know enough about him to say. Plattner's net favorability, the percentage who have a favorable opinion minus the percentage who have an unfavorable opinion, is 60, up from 52 in October. The Zionists threw the fucking wall of the playbook at him. All of their pseudo-left operatives who are getting paid from Argentina worked overtime to trash Plattner's reputation, and it went up 8 points. The Bada-Panada effect is get attacked by Bada-Panada, improve your position by 8 percentage points, which is actually very similar to my own performance of my stream. Attack by Bada-Panada equals plus 8% in your fucking stream. Holy fuck, dude. On the Republican side, incumbent Senator Susan Collins continues to hold a commanding lead over prospective challengers. Okay, so Susan Collins is going to win. Maine Republicans don't really like her that much. Susan Collins is not really that well liked by Republicans, but Graham Plattner is very well loved by Democrats. Plattner leads Collins in a prospective general election matchup for the U.S. Senate in Maine. If the general election were held today, 49% of likely voters say they would vote for Plattner. 38% would vote for Collins, 4% would vote for another candidate, and 9% are undecided. So he's up 11. And she's an incumbent and she's below 40? Yo, she's fucking cooked. 9 in 10 Democrats, 91%, and 47% of independents said they would vote for Plattner, while only 76% of Republicans would vote for Collins. By contrast, Collins and Mills are deadlocked in a prospective general election matchup. 41% would say they would vote for Mills, while 40% would vote for Collins, and 9% would vote for another candidate, and 10% are undecided. 83% of Democrats would vote for Mills, and 79% of Republicans would vote for Collins. So in other words, nominating the longtime centrist Democrat governor would lead to the Republican winning again. Oh my God, bro. Look at this chart. Look at this photograph. Look at this photograph. Every time I do it, makes me laugh. And then the main gubernatorial race. I don't really give a shit. Who cares? In the race to succeed retiring Democrat Jared Golden, former Governor Paul LePage is running for the Republican nomination, and several Democrats are running the Democratic primary. Maine's 2nd district, LePage and prospective Democrats are effectively tied, and the election is driven almost exclusively by partisanship. So, in other words, we should... And this is actually something that I've said before. Jared Golden, by being a right-wing Democrat, did not perform better. You know, like, being a right-wing Democrat does not make you do better. Look at this graph. Thanks, man. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Look at this graph. All right. Governor Mills is trailing Plattner in the Senate primary in part because Mainers disapprove of her performance as governor. And what I've always been trying to say is, it honestly doesn't matter if a candidate is centrist or progressive. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't actually matter that much electorally in the purple districts, right? Like, it's not something that is moving a lot of numbers, because guess why? People are looking at the National Democratic Party to see if it's progressive or not. If they present a centrist candidate as the top level candidate, people are going to think that's what's going on. And if they don't vibe with centrism, they don't show up. And so right now, the Democratic Party is being perceived as more anti-ICE, anti-Trump, more progressive. That's especially what's breaking through on social media. And so a lot more young people are fired up. So when you're deciding who to pick for a local race, pick the most left-wing candidate you can get. I am of full confidence that a progressive would win this race. Governor Mills is trailing Plattner in the Senate primary in part because Mainers disapprove of her performance as governor. Currently, 52% of Mainers disapprove of Mills' job performance, 46% approve, and 1% neither approved or disapprove or unsure. Hey, it's almost like Newsom in California. Californians don't like Newsom. He has a negative approval rating in the state that he runs. More liberal cope. Flawed methodology aside, no argument that it's flawed, just asserting it's flawed with no evidence. 2 polls have shown that Grant Plattner loses to Susan Collins by double digits once voters learn of his past Reddit comments. Guys, we did a poll where we spread a bunch of lies about Graham Plattner, and that means he loses. Bitch, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's so fucking bullshit, man. Speaking of local races, did you catch us on interviewing the DSA candidate yesterday? Indeed, I did. 80-year-old Barbara will say, what's Reddit? Plattner is a bright young man. I mean, like, nobody gives a fuck about your old Reddit comments. In fact, I think people want somebody that has some spicy comments in their past. If I'm being honest, I think it's relatable. I think it's not relatable to be a fucking drone machine who has never said anything, you know, out of pocket on social media. Like, that shows you're a fucking reptile. Like, oh, wow, I've never said anything spicy on social media in my entire life. I've never said anything that I regret on social media. What are you, a fucking reptile? What are you, a machine? I want somebody who has some posts they needed to delete. It's called being normal. It's so weird that Central Committee turned and keeps going to bat for the Nazi tattoo guy. Absolutely, 100%, I'm going to bat for the pro-Palestinian guy over the Zionist. I was concerned about his tattoos. I was concerned about his Reddit posts as indicative of him not being a true left-winger, especially on foreign policy. And then you know what happened? He was the first person to condemn the kidnapping of Maduro. He's maintained and got louder on his pro-Palestinian messaging. he spoke out exclusively and extensively against the intervention in Iran. At a certain point, what am I going to do? Let Mills get in, the Zio, the fucking puppet of AIPAC? Or am I going to say, hey, he was a dumb fuck. He made a mistake. He's doing well. And I agree. And I want those policies enacted. I am not doing politics for my personal brand. I'm not doing this because I want you to think I'm the most pure leftist or whatever the fuck other people's goals are. I want to change the world. And that means working with people that made mistakes in the past. Too fucking bad. Now, if you could find me the perfect, pristine angel from heaven who's always been correct about everything and never wrong and is also popular and winning, I'll be behind them with both. Also, this is one of his Reddit posts. These are the Reddit posts they're trying to get me to condemn. The war, I've pretty much stopped believing in any of the patriotic nonsense that got me there in the first place, and I'm a firm believer that the best thing a person could do is help their neighbors and live a loving life. Oh my God, I hate, like, oh wow, how lame. Like, who gives a fuck? Based. It is based as fuck. What do you want me to say? It is based as fuck. Plattner reflected on life after military service, saying he was a vegetable-growing, psychedelics-taking socialist these days. No, Mike, you need to condemn him forever. You need to brand him with a scarlet letter. He had a tattoo, and he was in the military. You better say he's bad forever. Let Janet Mills win. We need more Zionists in the Senate. I think one of the things that like ultimately makes me different than a lot of other people is I care about what you do. I'm not your fucking priest. I'm not here to condemn you for having a mortal sin on your soul. In fact, I want people that have done bad things and regret them and show a path of rejuvenation and redemption, because America needs a redemption. America needs to be rejuvenated. America needs to turn away from what it used to be. And you people make that harder. And it's not because you are some sort of principled leftist. I know a lot of people like this guy in chat. And I can tell you, when they get a chance to sell out, they fucking do it with both hands. I've seen it so many fucking times. I've known that people that yap loudly don't necessarily hold through when the going gets tough. It's because leftists want to destroy America, not fix it. No, they don't. Honestly, if they wanted to destroy America, they would be doing things to actually harm America. There's a lot of things I could do to destroy America. It wouldn't be hard to do. I as an individual acting alone, could do so much damage to America, it wouldn't even be that hard. Because I understand what the vulnerabilities in America are and, you know, exactly what to do in order to fuck them up. I would probably get caught because it'd be me alone. But like, I could do a significant amount of damage. So how come none of you are doing dick? Like, if you're so dedicated to destroying America, how come none of you are doing anything? I'm not going to give you examples because I'll get banned, but there's a lot of shit you could do that's not that hard you could get away with.
Hello and welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about derailers. What are they? Why are they there? And how can we implement these in our layouts to enhance the model railroading?
I'm talking about model railroading, chat. I pulled up sorry, chat. This was on my recommended train derailers and how to use them. It's about model railroads, chat. Sorry about that. That was an accidental click. Not related at all to what I was talking about. Like, all I'm trying to say is, like, people going, I want to destroy America, and I'm going to do it by tweeting, don't vote Graham Plattner. He's got a tattoo. It's like, what the fuck are you even? Who are you LARPing with? Who are you kidding? Fucking loser.
It's going to be fascinating to see, maybe I'm overstating, but if the Democrats take the House and the Democrats take the Senate, I guess he just blames the states for cheating, right?
I got derailed there by the derailer video. Sorry about that.
They are so good. These Democrats really have their act together in specific states.
Just don't ask about Blackwater or Abu Ghraib. I am perfectly comfortable talking about the guys serving in the military and being a guard for State Department or diplomats. That was Obama that enacted that policy of hiring mercenaries to be State Department guards. That was Obama that did that. You think Janet Mills is not going to support that policy going forward? Graham Plattner has been anti military contractor, mercenary, whatever you want to call it. So even if being anti-contractor was your policy, you would still be voting for Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner just spoke out against it. He wants to have cooperation with China. He said he's not a China hawk. I mean, what more do you want? Either you care about the policies or you don't. Do you care about the policies? And the reason why I'm taking the position I'm taking is because I'm going to be right first again. Okay, so what has this guy said? What is his Bada Padada take? By the way, Bada Padada is not like a leader or cool that's going to like change my mind. He can repeat the same slanders and slurs, but they like, if that changed your mind, that changed your mind. But it's not changing the mind of Mainers. It's not changing the mind of me. I just don't like, so what? Okay, you could say it again as loud as you want. Nazi tattoo is not normal. That's why he removed it. I ain't bringing up Plattner as an exemplar leftist every other day. Do you have other candidates that you're supporting? I mean, if you don't want to complain about Plattner, show me the people that you are constructively helping that need more social media help. Bring me the socialists that you think are really good that need more help that are running for office. Like Abdul El Sayed in New Michigan is great on all the issues, and you guys are fucking, you're never talking about him. He doesn't even organize or do anything. Bro was sitting in his cozy apartment as people were on the streets protesting immediately, increasing work week hours because he's a digital nomad. He's a parasite on Argentina. You spending American YouTube dollars tricking the anti-social of the so-called online left. Pathetic.
Texas primary is a week from tomorrow.
Con, man. That's
And yeah, I'm not trying to say that this is something permanent and all of that, but I think that, you know, there is real anger here that is not going to be, and the fact that Texas redistricted based on those 2024 numbers when the electorate could have shifted quite significantly since then, means there's more unknowns in this Texas Senate race than perhaps previously.
Matt was just about to put up that thing. What happened?
Yeah, but the thing where it shows that everyone wants a more progressive candidate and no one wants a moderate candidate isn't on the archived version of it. So I got to.
That is weird. But put it back up as you search, because we could. The question was asked.
The New York Times did this focus group with Democrats.
Go up just a little more, sweet. What kind of Democratic candidate would you prefer? And they asked. This is a focus test. And there's a graphic there of how everybody did. It's, for whatever reason, it's not there. But as you can see here,
but it says there.
But right here it says everybody said more progressive than moderate. Everybody in the focus.
Not a single person said I want a moderate candidate, and this is the New York Times.
Exactly. It's not like they're out there going like, let's just
progress.
Yeah. Why? What do those words mean to you? One woman said, I feel like sometimes Democrats follow the law because they're believers in the system and how the system works. I'm in between progressive and moderate, but Republicans don't care about the law. They do what they want done. Democrats are behind the curve on that. It's a little bit scary but
true, though.
It is true. And let's be clear. The things that inhibit the Democrats more than the law are customs and norms.
And corruption.
And well, corruption, but also an ideology that is geared towards maintaining the status quo and just letting out enough air out of the tires so that you get by, and they'll err on the side of not letting out as much tires as necessary so that occasionally you get a Donald Trump. To me, this is a 57-year-old woman from Latina from Georgia. To me, being a progressive means prioritizing equality and improving society as well as enhancing people's rights, freedom of choice.
And like when we talked about this, and I'm so glad that the Majority Report talked about it as well. But like basically, and I'm glad and I actually have a video on that chat that I think really holds up. And quite frankly, I think the editing, I'm not gonna lie. Which kind of I think the editing in this one is fucking banger. You know, I posted this 4 days ago. I guess they just caught up. Over there on the Majority Report because I posted this 4 days ago. Democrat candidate, would you prefer? I guess they saw my video and they're like, fuck, we need to make a video too. So go check that out. Would it be great if we stopped focusing on equality and started focusing on I think that I agree with what you're saying, but I don't the style in which you said it. The style in which you said it, I think is what is holding us back in part. Equity is something that you achieve through the existence of fairness. And so the problem with making an equality versus equity argument is it's too acidic. It's in the front of the brain, you know? It requires continuous attention. It requires knowing vocabulary. It requires somebody who likes reading for fun. Okay? If you are someone who likes reading for fun, I like you. I'm one of you. But you know who isn't like you? The majority of Americans. They look at a book and they feel anxious. So if you want to get people on our side, we need to not be in that kind of acidic mental space of advanced academic vocabulary. Salami slicing the difference between equality and equity. We need to be saying, we're going to kill the billionaires and give you free health care because it's a goddamn human right. I said the same thing you did, but I said it in a way that everybody instantly gets. It's, oh, the billionaires. Mike thinks the billionaires serve no function in our society, so much so that he wants to eat the rich and use their meat and put it in a grinder to fund universal health care, which will benefit me in two ways. First, we have an enemy, the billionaires. We have someone to blame. We have someone to rally against. We have somebody to take our aggression out on. We have a scapegoat is not a scapegoat. They're actually responsible for what's going on. And then it's not just a cathartic, aggressive message. It also includes with it tangible, measurable benefits that the majority of people intuitively agree with. And that's why Graham Plattner is doing so well, because he speaks like I speak. He's not going, the important thing about my politics is I am not a class reductionist who sees class war as the only fixation, but rather I have a full intersectional perspective that fights misogynoir, as well as, blah, blah, blah. It is, and all those things are important, and I agree with them. But if somebody has to whip out a fucking dictionary to follow along with what you're saying, it's not well positioned toward the masses. And and this is something that has been a problem with the left in general, is it has gone from being rooted in the labor left to becoming rooted in academia. And the reason why somebody like Elizabeth Warren is so unpopular is because she comes from that kind of left, the left of nerds, the left of people that are so desperate to show you they're smarter than other people, as opposed to somebody who is in any way relatable. And that's why they've been defeated by the likes of George Bush and Donald Trump, because they are the fucking party of the Argyle sweater, and nobody likes that shit. Nobody's panties are getting wet for Argyle. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Okay. So we need to have a more relatable, sexier, aggressive politics, because that's where the American people are. They want to get loud and break things. Norwegian's former prime minister hospitalized with a suicide attempt amid Epstein corruption probe. Guys, let's not rush to any conclusions. I'm sure he's innocent. Guys, let's not rush to any conclusions. Okay, I'm kidding. Former Norwegian Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland was hospitalized last week after an apparent suicide attempt. He's in serious condition. I guess Cyprus Mail is not exactly the most legitimate source, so we should hold before we get a little bit too conclusory. Can this possibly be right? The sitting two-term governor is at 26% of the vote in a Senate primary? Yes, because she's a fucking centrist Hillary Clinton clone. Everybody hates that shit. That's it. That's all. She isn't popular if you look at her approval rating. Yeah. She is losing to a Nazi sympathetic who is a Democrat. Honestly, and I mean this, and I'm not trying to be glib here. I'm being serious. I think the fact that Plattner had a Nazi tattoo probably makes him more capable of getting not MAGA guys to be like, wait a minute, maybe this guy's cooking a little bit. It's not because they're Nazis. It's because he fucked up in a way that pisses off liberals. It's not, as much as I want to say all MAGA is Nazis, I don't think all MAGA are literally Nazis. he fucked up in a way that pisses off liberals. So people are like, you know, he's pissing off the type of people that I like to piss off. And then Graham Plattner apologizes. He gets it removed. Like, what more can he do? Like, what more do you want him to do? You want him to kill himself? Like, what's the plan? You want him to drop out? So Mills, like, that's the one thing about people that complain about that. Like, I was very pissed about the tattoo. It pissed me the fuck off. Like, I was like furious over that shit. I was like, he's a dumb fuck. And I still think he is kind of a dumb fuck. I was like, what a dumbass. How do you have that tattoo and not get it removed, you fucking idiot? You are dumb. And the answer is because he's lazy. It was under his shirt. So, like, you know, like, that's it. Getting a tattoo hurts. Probably doesn't have enough people in his life that would be offended by it. Which is that really the biggest sin in the world? You know, not really. But his response was strong. He got inked immediately. And he was like, you know what? You're right. That was dumb as fuck. I apologize. I didn't know. Maybe he even learned later and he was still lazy. He should have got it lasered off a while ago. And I was pissed off at all the people that died to that Nazi shit because he's a dumb fuck. He's a dumb piece of shit. He didn't know what it was. I believe him. I believe him. He was a dumb piece of shit who didn't really understand what it was. But every single step he's taken since the tattoo came out has been good. He's white, chat. Of course, everyone here is willing to forgive him and suck him off because he says the right things. I would do that. I wouldn't care if he were black, although it would be a little bit more ridiculous for him to have a Nazi tattoo if he was black. But why do you think I would care? I support all the biggest black radicals in America. What the fuck are you talking about? I was the first person that even told you that Summer Lee existed before she went on Hassan's stream. I was one of the people that got her interested in Twitch in the first place through our DMs together. I supported Cori Bush. I supported all these black politicians that have been getting attacked nonstop. I physically flew to fucking Cleveland, Ohio to canvass for Nina Turner. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've been there for every black radical politician, and if they made a dumb fucking mistake like this too, in fact, I've been fighting for when they called what the fuck is his name? I'm hold on, it's Keith Ellison. When they were calling killing Keith Ellison anti-Semitic because of the Nation of Islam associations, I rode to his defense. I've been behind every radical black politician in fucking America. So the idea that I wouldn't be there for a black radical politician is insane. And yeah, he's white. He's fucking Maine. Have you been to Maine? Your landlord gets a paint when the landlord special is a paint called Maine Skin. Okay? Because they're whiter than fucking white. Okay? They're white. They're upset that he's white and being given a pass on his dumb tattoo and his dumb Reddit posts. And, you know, they're like, it's not fair. It doesn't happen to black people. And you're right. Black people oftentimes in this country, people of color oftentimes have to be fucking immaculate in order to be, promoted in the same way. I'm doing everything I can to fight back against that. But it's not an argument in this moment that what? We should ritualistically sacrifice Graham Plattner so a Zionist wins? How does that advance the interests of black people? How does that advance the interests of black radicals? By putting in a centrist Democrat Zionist. It's called Maine Skin. Maine Skin. That's the color of my walls, chat. Maine Skin. Oh, fuck. That's good. My issue is him not addressing what he said to black people. He said racist shit about tipping. Hasn't been talked to any black people about it. Oh, the tipping post. The tip post of like, why is there explain why I'm 5? Why is there stereotypes about black people not tipping? Is that the post? Is that the post you're talking about? I thought he did address that. I thought he apologized for that and said he was a dumb fuck white boy. And like, there are a lot of stereotypes. For me, I in my experience, it isn't black people are generous tippers, but I spent most of my time in Pennsylvania. From what I understand, in the deep South, there is this like evangelical thing where they don't tip and they say stuff like, not black people, just Southerners in general will be like, this is for Jesus loves, Jesus provides. Or people will like put fake bills that turn out to be like, join the church. That's a stereotype I've heard about the South. You know, doesn't mean it's fair. It's a joke from a Louis C.K. old show. Do not link me to Louis C.K. That guy's a fucking weirdo. Maine is getting more time in the stream than every other state. Who gives a shit about Maine? I think the main reason I care about Maine is that it's a pro-Palestine candidate who's crushing a centrist. And a lot of people are constantly whining about him. So I'm definitively taking a stand against the whiners. And I'm saying they're wrong. They're wrong about him, and honestly, we should take the W. People are trying to distance us from a W, and it's our W. It's a pro-Palestine left-wing W. Is he ideal in every way? No, but he's our W. He's proof concept that a populist left-wing candidate, which is always going to be a flawed human being, is beating a polished centrist Democrat. It's our W. Look at AOC's support. AOC's office in D.C.
I'm outside of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office on Capitol Hill, and her office is covered in supportive sticky notes, so you better bet that I brought one to put on her office. I'm gonna put that there. And for comparison, this is Republican Congressman Andy Biggs' office, and the only sticky note here says, "the fuck?"
I'm guessing the creator put that there. Yes, everybody who's actually involved in real shit loves AOC. I mean, it's just... I have my criticisms of her without a doubt. And I understand why some people are frustrated with her for not being even better. Because a lot of the weight is resting on her shoulders to be perfect. Every time she fucks up, it feels like we're all getting screwed. Still has the trans pride flag out. As a trans woman, shit is super dark and depressing right now. Especially with Gavin Newsom signaling he won't support us. I need to be reminded someone still cares about us. Man, I need to move to New York. Obligatory fuck Gavin Newsom. The DNC created him in a lab to continue fucking us over. 13,000 upvotes on Reddit. Look at Gavin Newsom. This is what Gavin Newsom said today.
No doubt that the Democratic Party needs to be, dare I say, more culturally normal. I believe that. Less prone to spending disproportionate amount of time on pronouns, identity, politics. More focused on tabletop issues, things that really matter, the stacking of stress in terms of electricity bills and child care costs and health care and obviously housing costs, and how easily we get trapped in that, how I've fallen prey to that. I mean, here I was, way out front on marriage equality. So I understand this from both on the receiving end of this and on the no doubt that.
This is why I've been pretty comfortable saying that as more people see Gavin Newsom, he's going to fall off. And if AOC has the right strategy, which is to be aggressive, and AOC doesn't get tripped up doing this like apologizing or explaining attitude, but if she just leans in and goes on the attack, and she's like, you know, this guy's on the wrong side of this, he supports Israel, he supports the war in Iran. If she goes and she makes it a very populist campaign, I think she will fucking run circles around him, you know? Why did you tell Ben Shapiro you agree it's not a genocide? Why did you donate to AIPAC? Like, if she does that shit, he'll get fucking owned. If she doesn't do that, if they sit back, then she'll lose. But I think if she actually leans forward and is aggressive, she'll absolutely destroy him. People only like Gavin Newsom for two reasons. One, he's constantly pumped up in the corporate media. And what is he pumped up doing? He's pumped up for being bitchy to Trump, which is what everybody wants. People want us to be trashy toward Trump. That's what people want. They want us to say, suck my dick, Trump. You're a fat piece of shit, Trump. That's what people want. I just saw a TikTok the other day. I doubt I could find it, but I'll describe it because TikTok is unsearchable. The TikTok was a guy going, your mom being 2/3 woke and 1/3 problematic. And it was, this guy does this bit where he's like his mom and how moms say like evil problematic shit to you. And she was like, and it ended with, he's huge, he's so fat, he's disgusting. And the tweet was omega viral because people want us to be disgusting and catty toward Republicans. That's what people are craving. They want the catharsis of someone bullying them back. They want us to throw punches. And Gavin Newsom's had some social media of him going, Trump's dumb, Trump's a piece of shit. Is this it? Yeah, yes. Your mom being woke and problematic at the same time.
Fascist who is trying to destroy democracy as we
No way.
Exactly, Mom.
Oh, and guess what? He probably wouldn't have even won if it wasn't for the extensive voter suppression and corruption in our country.
Exactly, Mom.
Plus, he's huge.
Mom!
What?
That is not...
I miss Barack and Michelle. They were so slim.
Oh, God.
What? Donald Trump is a fascist who is trying
That's what people love. 61,000 likes, and I liked it too. That's what people want. They want, the only reason Gavin Newsom got any motion is because he seems like the guy who might call Trump a fatso. And it's so annoying on the left. It's part of why people don't like me is that I don't mind calling people fucking pussies or fat slobs or disgusting animals. Like, look at Ethan Klein. He looks like a scarecrow that got addicted to methamphetamine and was out in the sun too long, but not in a way that he got tanned, in a way of like disintegrating. I've never seen someone lose like 100 pounds and then look worse. Ethan Klein should get an award. The 2026 California Raise It Award goes to Ethan Klein. Unironically, he looked better when he was fatter. He was happier when he was fatter, probably because he just had a pudding. And who could be mad with pudding jiggling around in their gut? And a jolly little belly jiggle is a lot more sexy than deflated skin that's just kind of like, oh, fuck. Chatter, you are the best for fighting this immediately. Like, here's a character that I'm talking. Here's
Charlie
a streamer
Kirk,
that I'm talking about. I gotta say, I don't like this content creator very much. Like, they are definitely, they smell like I get the feeling they're a course creator. Like they kind of like strike me as a course creator. They do shit like this, and it's very, very popular.
You can hear us, please. Charlie Kirk, please. Please take him. I'm asking you, Charlie Kirk, please. Please take him away from us. Charlie Kirk, if you can hear us, please. Charlie.
I don't particularly find that to be good. Like, the last one was fucking...
Donald Trump.
This is fucking hilarious. Because you could literally... I don't know about you, chat, but I could hear my mom. This is what my mom would say. Like, my mom... This is what talking to my mom is like. Okay? Literally. This is not even... It's so good because it hits so well. I have an aunt. Her name is Bubba. That's her nickname. It's not her actual name. We call her Bubba. And she is a slim, strong woman. I don't know how the fuck she got that nickname, but we've called her that since I was a kid. And that's basically her. That's basically her. Her and my mom. They're constantly, they're very similar people. So sometimes they clash because they're sisters. She's baby course, by the way. She was running Hillary line of Democrats deported more, but in a safer manner a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's chorus shit. That's chorus shit. One of the really interesting things about Gavin Newsom as a candidate is there's literally no reason to like the guy. Not one. He's been a total failure. He's an oil wealth Nepo baby. And his time as governor of California has been a total disaster. Like, I don't know why you would like Gavin Newsom. Like, can someone give me a reason why you would like Gavin Newsom? Not like I would vote for Gavin Newsom over JD Vance. Like, let's leave that aside. Let's just leave that aside. Let's just say I would do that. Let's say I would vote blue no matter who in 2028. Okay, let's just stipulate that. I'm not gonna do that, but let's just stipulate that for the point of leaving aside that as a conversational point. Why would you want it to be Gavin? Why would you want to be Gavin Newsom? She streams on Twitch and she's never chatted in your Hassan's chat. Oh, okay, well, good. She won't grow then. You're not gonna grow. If you're gonna do left-wing politics, but you don't like me or Hassan, like, you don't have to like me. Like, plenty of people have grown without liking me. But if you don't like me or Hassan, where the fuck are you getting viewers? I guess she's gonna drive them all in from TikTok. Can't wait to see that. Good luck. People claim he's charismatic. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. This is charisma?
No doubt that the Democratic Party needs to be, dare I say, more culturally normal. I believe that.
Mayor of San Francisco, by the way. Mayor of San Francisco. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy to make the Democrats more culturally normal. That's the other thing that's really funny. I mean, I think for most liberals, they don't understand that for a large portion of America, especially in the Rust Belt, the word San Francisco is basically a synonym for the F slur. You think this motherfucker is going to do well in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin? I want to clear something up. The Midwest, the Rust Belt, they respect New York. They may not like it. They may criticize it, but people respect New York. It has grit. All right? The vibes of New York are that it is the urban jungle. It's the mean streets. People put respect on New York's name, you know? San Francisco? Are you kidding me? The idea that the mayor of San Francisco is going to be the culturally normal guy for the Democrats is laughably fucking stupid. This he started a business at 23 to make a winery in Napa. He's the least relatable man who's ever fucking lived.
Prone to spending disproportionate amount of time on pronouns, identity, politics. More focused on tabletop issues, things that really matter, the stacking of stress in terms of electricity bills and childcare costs and health.
Hey, have you done anything to lower, how are electricity bills in California? Chart of CA's electricity costs. Historical record of California's electricity costs. Let's just do a 10-year because that's mostly 5-year. Guys, I think it's gone up. It's got up 6 cents a kilowatt hour. I don't know, guys. I think it might not be good. Also, it spikes in the summer, so it always goes down in the winter because, you know, it's cooler in California, so you don't need as much electricity demand. No air conditioning being used. So it seems like California electricity prices go up in the summer and then decline in the winter. So it's what, 30 cents a kilowatt hour? How come you're a total failure on the issues you say are important? How about you fix the problem and say, look how I have cheap electricity in California. That's why you should vote for me for president. You haven't done dick. You were the governor with a supermajority for 8 fucking years. This is what's driving me up the wall. How do people not lose their shit? This guy he could have passed anything he wanted. The GOP is a non-issue in California. It's complete vote blue no matter who. The problem is half the people that are Democrats are fucking dinos. They're basically Republicans. And Gavin Newsom is their king. He's the king of the dino.
Probably heard that Gavin Newsom dated a teenager when he was 38 years old. And as somebody who actually lived in San Francisco when this happened and he was my mayor, yes, that did occur. But the story is actually even more wild than that. So let me explain. The first thing you need to know is that if Gavin Newsom is ball, I know ball. Not only was he my mayor when I lived in San Francisco, one of my roommates actually was a volunteer in City Hall under him. And I am to this day a Californian where he serves as my governor. Now, when this story broke in San Francisco, it was a scandal. The girl is not underage. I think she was like 19 years old, but everybody knew that it was pretty much a creepy midlife crisis D-bag move. When we heard...
Okay, I'm sorry, but it doesn't even, it's pedophile shit. I know it's legal and whatever, it's barely legal or whatever the fuck, but it's pedophile shit. If you're a 38-year-old man and you are involved in politics, do you know how many accomplished, beautiful women that are your contemporaries are all around you? You know how many like 30-year-old, like beautiful, big law lawyer, like even if he was just, you know what I mean? Like it is so fucking weird. It's so fucking, like, I don't even understand how it's possible, to be honest with you. How do you have the time to find a 19-year-old to fuck when you are the mayor? It's like he had to seek her out. He had to put effort into her. This was before Tinder. There was no social media. He had to like track down a 19-year-old in order to date her. It's like, what the fuck? Again, one thing if she was like a 25-year-old, you know, junior associate or something, it would be weird, but you would at least be like, well, at least their social circles mixed. Maybe he saw her at a cocktail party. Like, how the fuck are you getting a 19-year-old? What the fuck is going on?
This story, we were under the impression that it had been an affair that ultimately broke up his marriage. And I just went back and looked at the news stories from this time, and they were pitching it as though this relationship started right after his marriage had already ended. So maybe they rewrote the story to make it look better than it was. Maybe we all just remembered the timeline wrong. Who knows? But whatever the case, it was, yeah, shocking to us when we figured this out. Now, to understand what happened next, you need to know a little bit about the psychology of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is an expert politician. And I don't mean that as a compliment. The man is good, though, at what he does. See, in San Francisco, when I lived there, this was before the major tech boom, and the majority of San Francisco still had its bohemian artistic roots. We were known as being a very gay city, a city run by low-income service workers, a city where rent control was so good that I was only paying $300 a month to live in an Edwardian. And Gavin Newsom was a man of the people in San Francisco. This guy was like our Princess Diana. When the federal government made gay marriage illegal, he was personally marrying gay people on the steps of City Hall. That guy was riding critical mass with the bike punks. He named a sewage processing facility after George W. Bush. You know, he got us. And I gotta say, even
yeah, but
as
that's always been what he does. Like, that's all performative shit. But if you actually go and look at what policies he was supporting, he was supporting Republican fiscal conservatism. He was I am a social liberal, but a fiscal conservative. That was his message. You know what has never changed in all of his years? Is fiscal conservatism. That stuck. Now he's going socially conservative as well. He's throwing trans people under the bus. All of his social liberalism is going away. But you know what's not going away? His ass kissing of CEOs.
a hardcore left-wing extremist. I was charmed by the man. I was. So when this story...
Can I just say Californians are fucking like, listen, Madeline, I love you. But in Pennsylvania, Gavin Newsom would be like hanged by his heels. I'm imagining him like walking into a Yinzer bar with that greasy fucking hair. Somebody would flick a fucking cigarette in it. Christ. Y'all haven't hung Fetterman? Fetterman lied blatantly, and now everyone hates his guts. Fetterman at least had to lie to get into power. Now he has like a negative 40% approval rating with Democrats in Pennsylvania. Like, people despise Fetterman. It's not like people are like, oh, we like him because he's a fat slob who wears Carhartt hoodies he got from Costco. No, everybody hates that fucker, and they're mad because he lied. And trust me, I know his wife. I knew Fetterman. Let me just say, it's not like he was never progressive. No, he ran as a progressive. He presented himself as left-wing. He went out of his way to support left-wing causes. He publicly campaigned for Bernie Sanders in 2016. He's a fraud. He lied. He lied. He got into power and he sold out when his brain exploded. It's not like we didn't see it coming and he was secretly conservative the whole time. No, he blatantly lied and changed. That's what happened. And it can happen. That shit can happen. Whenever you elect someone, that shit can happen to you.
Joke about him being a weird little creep. He played it so well. He came out and said, yes, you caught me. I am.
Fetterman, Netroots.
I'm John Fetterman, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm a progressive.
Guys, he never said he was a progressive. Sometimes people could just lie, you know? Sometimes people could just like, would you say they're signs? Yes. The sign that I now believe is a people's positions on Israel. If they are in any way a Zionist, I consider them to be suspect.
I'm dating a teenager. It was a horrible lapse in judgment. But to my credit, I only thought it was a good idea because I was so deep in addiction at the time. Yes, that's right. I, your mayor, have struggled like many Californians, San Franciscans, with addiction issues. This is probably an excellent opportunity for me to check myself into one of our city's many fine public rehabilitation centers so I can audit it internally to see where funding can be better allocated to help other San Franciscans struggling with addiction so we can improve this city resource for the poorest and most vulnerable amongst us. When I tell you, our jaws collectively dropped as a city. What could we do? We clapped. Well played, sir. Well played. Yeah. This guy knew.
You know what you do? You throw a fucking tomato at his head and say, you're a fucking disgusting rat. Fuck you. That's what you do. That's why, as an authoritarian leftist, I don't buy that hippy dippy bullshit about how he gets this guy is in a position of power. Heal on your own fucking time. Resign.
But you
don't get to heal on the people's time. Heal on your own fucking time. A lot of people have had addiction issues and we're trying to fuck teenagers.
He played us like a fiddle. By the time he became governor of California, it became apparent that this guy lived to please the people. And this meant that when the people he was trying to please changed character, oh, did he change character right along with them. Suddenly, Gavin's constituency wasn't a bunch of broke, gay waiters and bartenders in San Francisco. It was all of California, including rich conservatives in Orange County, the movie star elite of Beverly Hills, the right-wing conservative farmers of the Central Valley. And this spineless sack of... I was like, sure, man, whatever you want. I'm here to do it. This guy passed so many buddy-buddy laws for all of his billionaire backers that it amounted to 30,000 more Californians becoming homeless under his watch. And as the average, uneducated, ignorant Californian went, ew, the homeless people are yucky, Gavin Newsom went, you know what, they are. I'm gonna go do a photo shoot destroying their tents. And when the is not real lobbying groups approached him and said, they're being so mean to us, can you fix it? He said, bet. And he passed 2 laws that essentially made it illegal to tell the real story of what happened in Is Not Real in public schools. And when Californians said, you know, we're not that progressive actually, we're not sure how we feel about those pesky gays, he went on a podcast and said, I'm not a crazy person. Of course, I think that there are certain sectors in which transgender Americans need to be discriminated against. And we in California came to understand that this man was a shape-shifting psychopath. Yeah. He would say and do whatever it took to make him well-liked by his constituency. And in San Francisco, when his constituency was pretty fucking cool, man, so was he. But the whole of California is not pretty fucking cool, man. And the whole of the United States is certainly not pretty fucking cool, man. Now, when we as Californians, as former San Franciscans say, never Gavin, it's because we understand that this man is Patrick Bateman of politics. Not an ounce of morality in his thin, svelte, photogenic body. No principles to stand on. And that makes him a loose cannon, politically unpredictable, which is perhaps the most terrifying thing a politician could be. With that man, you never know what you are getting, because what you are getting is based on whatever person is yelling the loudest on the internet about him that day. He's a politician's politician. He's the kind of politician where you say the word politician, you feel dirty afterwards. He's the kind of politician who could somehow make himself more likable in the public eye when you learn he's dating a teenage girl. So when we say, never Gavin, it's more of a warning than a promise. You don't want it. Trust us. Somehow 3 years from now, he's gonna be standing in front of your house with a bulldozer yelling, knock it down, boys. And you'll be sitting there smiling going, yeah, thank you, Gavin. No, this is totally right. You're right. I didn't need a house. I'll just go live in that tree in the backyard.
Harvey Dent type shit? No, Harvey Dent was actually a good guy. The Dent part. And then he got his face melted off. You know, there's no Harvey Dent. Gavin Newsom is all the face melting off guy.
Dad, you're right. That's way better. Thanks. And you won't even know how it happened. So by now you've all probably heard that Gavin Newsom dated a teenager when he was...
Okay, yeah. They called him Harvey Two-Face before he got melted? Oh, you're right. He did. He was always... You're right. You know, you guys are right. You guys are right. No, you're right. You guys have the Batman. I mean, there's so many different types of Harvey. Oh, do you want to show Kat? I go big. She's already like... Her name is General Sherman. Shermy for short. General Perman. No, General Sherman. Shermy for short. VO will show you on the VO stream. Because VO has been focused... They just got adopted. Shermy and Styx. Styx is a black cat. And she's a snowshoe lynx mix. Whatever that means. I don't know anything about cats. Styx is an STYX. And they've been living together for a long time. So they're bonded together. Like the river. How are allergies? Good. VO has not been sneezing. We saw another couple cats, but VO was extremely allergic to them for some reason. Whereas with these, she hasn't been affected at all. So I think they're more hypoallergenic. Playing Mugetics as I watch this, W Cats. Okay, I just heard Mugetics had Zionist voice acting, so I didn't want to play it. Is it a good game though? Because that guy makes good games. I was like, why did he put like weirdo voice actors in the fucking game? It has Ethan Klein and Chris Chan in it. Isn't that right? That's what I heard. So I just like, fuck that. And I never bought it. They recorded a long time ago. Yeah. But that's still fucking weird, man. I heard the game is good, but I still am like, You know what I'm playing right now, chat? Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. Looks better. And then I've also been playing Menace. And I'm not even being advertised to these. Like, they're not even paying me to advertise, which is fucking bullshit. They should be. Have I played Terra Invicta since the 1.0 release? Only a little bit. But Terra Invicta is so good. I've spent way too many hours in that game. I spent like 200 hours in that game. Menace is so good but punishing. I want to say that I'm like 7 or 8 operations in, and I have not had any trouble. And I'm in the medium difficulty, the challenging difficulty. I didn't put the highest one. I might start a new campaign and start at the highest difficulty. Is the Voyager game like legit Star Trek? Does Menace scratch the XCOM itch? Yes. Yes. Did you ever play Cult of the Lamb? Yes, I did. I consider that to be a very solid game as well. Have I played Battle Brothers? Yes, but I didn't play it late game. I only played it early. That game is fucking hard. I played a lot of Battle Brothers, and I feel like I'm bad at it. I win every battle, and then all of a sudden, it feels like I'm behind the curve. Like I don't understand the strategic layer well enough. I get so far behind the curve. You know what I mean? Where I'm not powerful enough. So like maybe I'm not like playing, I'm not min-maxing it correctly, or there's some things that I'm not like maybe I need to look at a guide, honestly. That's like one of the few games I've ever played where I was like, damn, this game's hard. Gonna start on Arc Raiders. Any tips? Honestly, don't have gear fear and anything there's nothing that you're gonna get in Arc Raiders in any particular raid that is ultimately that big of a deal outside of a couple like blueprints of certain guns. But even then, I almost never make a gun. I have like guns from other people that I've killed. You know what I mean? Like it's not that deep. Don't have gear fear. Don't be that anxious. Play friendly and you'll find friendly lobbies. Here's what I say. I'm kidding. You should play this again. Oh yeah, the socialist automatons defeated Super Earth. Yeah, the Super Earth invaded in Helldivers 2 and was defeated. Voice of Cyberstan, hell yeah, dude. this is actually really good shit. Mike, did you see the news that they're going to have a pedophile deliver the State of the Union address today? I did see that. I thought that was an odd decision. Cyberstan was the Battle of Stalingrad. Yes, it was. I played it, chat. And I played it on level 10 super Helldive, and I died twice and we failed the mission because my other teammates died like 15 times and they were just getting gibbed constantly and and I was like, why are you dying so much? You're bad. Embarrassing. But I actually did. I think I won everyone but that. I think I did like 3 or 4 rounds just to say I was on Cyberstan. Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden? No, I haven't played that. No, I have not. All right, let's get on to more politics, chat. What else is happening in the world? Oh, yeah, it's the 4th year. Oh, wait, AOC and Zoran published a video.
Esta es la última semana para que los padres registren a sus hijos para el año escolar 2026-2027. Así que, para dar un último esfuerzo, decidí atraer una amiga.
Hola.
Mi español no es el mejor.
No te preocupes, alcalde. Si su hijo o hija está cumpliendo 3 o 4 años en el 2026, usted puede registrarlos gratis en el programa Kinder 3 o Prekinder de la ciudad de Nueva York. Debe registrarse el 27 de febrero, que es la fecha límite. Cualquier padre de la familia de la ciudad de Nueva York, sin importar su ocupación, ingreso o estatus migratorio, es elegible para registrar a sus hijos.
Por mucho tiempo las familias de la ciudad de Nueva York han sufrido una profunda ruina financiera por el costo del cuidado de sus hijos, pagando hasta $26,000 por niño cada año. Eso no es sostenible. Eso no es sostenible, no es justo y no es inevitable.
Hemos hecho el proceso de aplicación fácil, sin importar quién seas. Hay 3 maneras de registrarse. La primera, puede aplicar en línea a través del sitio web en su pantalla. La segunda, Puede llamar el número 718-935-2009 y recibir servicios en más de 200 idiomas, porque ninguna familia debe ser excluida de nuestros programas solo por su idioma. Y tercero, puede visitar uno de...
This is, honestly, chat, this reminds me of Claudia. This is very Claudia coded. Claudia Scheinbaum. You watch one Bad Bunny concert, and then look what happens in America. They're not speaking American anymore. They're speaking this other language. I can't figure out what it is. The damn Bad Bunny. Oh no, it's happening to me too. I said Bad Bunny. Oh no.
Nuestros centros de bienvenida familiar que se encuentran a través de los 5 condados, donde nuestro personal está listo para apoyarlo.
I feel like if you showed Trump enough Bad Bunny concerts, he would be in favor of immigration. I'm not even kidding.
El poder de hacer algo diferente.
Her Spanish is just okay. Yeah, no shit.
Si aplica.
By the way, he's very good with languages. Like, he has a really good ear. I do not, which is a bummer. He's very good at like replicating sounds that other people make.
Se aplica dentro de la fecha límite, el 27.
Her Spanish is good. Her Spanish is, she actually speaks it. He doesn't. That's the funny thing.
De febrero. Su hijo tendrá un cupo garantizado para el programa Kinder 3 o Pre-Kinder.
Porque el cuidado infantil gratuito es una de las formas más importantes con la que podemos lograr tener una ciudad más asequible para todos. Muy bien, muy bien.
It's wild. Were you critiquing people for mispronouncing niche yesterday? Oh no, I wasn't. Oh no, I wasn't critiquing people for mispronouncing. I was making a hard stance for no reason. You know, that's it. That's it. Oh my God, Cutie Cinderella's back.
All right, we're moving on to the next.
Wait, Cutie Cinderella's back? Was she taking a vacation? She was in Utah for a while, then got sick. She was on her Mormon sabbatical. She was getting all the dirty sodas she could drink. You non-Mormies don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it's okay. I call them Mormies, yeah. She also had like an emergency root canal. Oh no. Oh God. I've had those, chat. It's not a good experience. 2 root canals? The dirty sodas got her. The dirty sodas. Oh no. What is a dirty soda? Okay, so Mormons do not drink alcohol. So if you are edgy in Salt Lake City, you will drink a soda. Whoa, we got a badass over here. We got a badass. And so they have these drinks called dirty sodas. Non-alcoholic drinks made by mixing soft drinks with flavored syrups like coconut or cherry and cream. They are mocktails, chat. They are alcohol-free mocktails. The history of dirty soda is connected to Mormons, the followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, primarily based in Salt Lake City, Utah. So they drink dirty soda. So if you take someone on a date and you're Mormon, you go get a dirty soda. This is the legend. Yes, of course. So you go and get a dirty soda. Caffeinated? I've lived in Western Washington. I live next to a huge Mormon high school, and the coffee shops have dirty sodas, and now I don't wonder why anymore. Now you do. Now you know. It's Mormon shit. You get a dirty soda and you soak. No. I had never experienced Mormons until I moved to Colorado. And then I was exposed to them. And I was like, oh my God. Like I had always considered like black nationalism, you know, some of the more kooky stuff, especially Yakub, you know, the theory of Dr. Yakub, to be kind of out there and comical. You know what I mean? And then I met Mormons for real. And I was like, oh, they're right. The black nationalists were right. Dr. Yakub did do it. It's not a theory. It's a theory like gravity's a theory. So I put a lot more respect on black nationalism at that point. And I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson and never questioned their wisdom. In a theoretical civil war, but who comes out on top? I think the Amish are the dark horse. It's theological civil war. I love talking about weird American subcultures. You know what I like to torture VO with? Pennsylvania German.
was Doug Maidenford.
Hallo liebe Leute in Nepal, es ist wieder der Doug aus Pennsylvania und ich habe ein pennsylvanisch Deutschwort für euch. Es Hingelhaus.
The thing is, I have no clue. Maybe it's like a outdoor toilet? Nope, that was not it, not even close, but Doug saw that video and reached out to me afterwards to talk a little bit more about Pennsylvania Dutch.
Pennsylvania used to be have an extremely large German-speaking minority, but they were exterminated by Wilson. They forced them, they did a cultural genocide and forced them to stop speaking it. It could be like it's like anti-German laws in teens. No, not the Nuremberg laws. I'm talking about in America. Yeah, there we go. Anti-German nativism. There you go. Here's an example. In Minnesota, they tarred and feathered a guy for speaking German. Immigrants, particularly those of German descent, as potentially traitors. Many felt that because German Americans shared their heritage with the Kaiser of the German Empire, they would side with the enemy power. Many German Americans advocated neutrality until the U.S. declared war was further proof of disloyalty to the nativists. So there used to be a lot more German speaking, but basically everybody who was like modern stopped speaking German. So only the Pennsylvania, like the Amish, kept doing it. Oh, thank you. Vio has made me noodle. Thank you, Vio. Speaking of that, have you ever met Seventh-day Adventists? So they culturally genocided German speakers, but Pennsylvania still has some holdouts. There's still some holdouts, and they speak their own version of German called Pennsylvania German. Do I ever cook anything for Vio? Yes. Speaking of genocide,
medical experiments on trans people. The 2,200 trans people in federal prisons just became the subjects of a forced detransition and conversion therapy experiment that not only goes against science, but against the 8th Amendment, which bans cruel and unusual punishment, as well as the Nuremberg Code, which was created to ensure that the kind of experimentation that Nazi scientists did on prisoners in concentration camps never happened again. We already know what helps trans people. It is transition, gender-affirming medical care, gender-affirming therapy, and societal and familial acceptance. This is not conjecture or ideology. It is an objective, verified fact of reality. The evidence is overwhelming, coming from hundreds of studies across decades. Gender-affirming care is not some fad. It is evidence-based, best practice healthcare endorsed by every major medical organization in the U.S. To name just a few, we have the American Medical Association, who write the guidelines on just about any medical care that you receive, the American Psychiatric Association, who publish the DSM, which is used to diagnose and treat every mental health issue that we know of, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics, whose guidelines you are literally trusting your child's life with. And that list is nowhere close to comprehensive, because everyone who is not a foaming-at-the-mouth bigot is capable of looking at the evidence and concluding the objective truth, which is that gender-affirming care saves lives. Fox News is not an authority on our healthcare. Your church is not an authority on our healthcare. And Trump is not an authority on our healthcare. All of them know that their stances against our healthcare and our acceptance is based on nothing but hatred, and they choose to lie about us. We know for a fact that conversion therapy doesn't make people stop being gay or trans. It makes them traumatized, if not dead. To call it therapy is insulting. It is literally torture, and to attempt to force it on people is not ignorance. It is a deliberate choice to torture someone into conforming. It is a deliberate choice that you would rather someone be dead than be trans. It is cruel, and every—
Wait, do you have an Elden Ring badge? Wait, you like Elden Ring? Like one of the main characters is trans in Elden Ring. One of the main bosses is literally trans in Elden Ring. A very inclusive and trans pride queer game. I guess you were too dumb to notice.
Everyone involved in this needs to be hauled into The Hague for torturing and murdering trans prisoners in, once again, literal Nazi-style experiments. And the reason that they're doing it is because they know that tortured people will literally say whatever it is that their torturer wants to hear just to make it stop. Conversion therapy practices include things like beatings, solitary confinement, shaming rituals, exorcisms, and being force-fed mind-altering drugs that cause them harm in order to try and cure them of conditions that they don't have. And inevitably, some of those people will cave to the pressure just to get any kind of relief. Those people will be held up as successes, while everyone else will be buried, both literally and metaphorically. These people want us all dead, and they won't stop until they succeed or they are stopped. Bureau of Prisons is now doing literal Nazi-style medical experiments.
Yeah, I saw about this story, and I'm looking into it more, chat. It is really fucking disgusting. It's really fucking disgusting. There's also another claim about isolating small girls and women for an unknown reasons in what they call blue butterfly zones. A phrase that sounds like it belongs on a preschool wall has suddenly been repurposed as a warning label. Blue butterfly zones is a term ricocheting across social media attached to claims that girls inside Dilley, Texas family detention site are being separated from others for reasons nobody could explain. Here's what's currently in the public record. Online posts claim that reports are now emerging from inside the Dilley ICE facility about blue butterfly zones, where young girls are being kept separated and isolated for unknown reasons. These posts have not been accompanied by verifiable documentation, named witnesses, or any official confirmation, so every allegation should be treated with caution until corroborated. What is verifiable, however, is that blue butterfly has appeared for years in reporting about Dilley as one of several color and animal labels used to divide the facility into so-called neighborhoods. This is the claims on social media.
I've got more really disturbing stuff coming out of Dilley. This one is really upsetting me. And I want to tell you guys, I don't have a tremendous amount of information, but I want to flag something very concerning. So at this point, I am on like regular text conversations with Casey, who runs Each Step Home, which is a organization that helps children, immigrant children, with Dr. Anita Patel, who has been advocating for the kids at Dilley, indirectly with Lydia Terrazas, who's the amazing reporter who's reporting out of Dilley. They're all working with Representative Castro's and Jasmine Crockett's office. Everybody is trying to get to the bottom of what the fuck is happening to children and pregnant women and everybody at Dilley. But here is a detail that I saw first on a screenshot of one of Lydia's text messages to some of the other women about something called blue zones at Dilley. And it struck me. It was tucked into a text about something else, but she said there are blue zones where teenage girls are being kept at Dilley and nobody can see them. Nobody can access them. No one knows what's happening to them. So I was like, wait, what about these blue zones? So Anita, Dr. Patel, was on a call with the two Texas representatives' offices just today, and they confirmed they're not blue zones. They're called blue butterfly zone. And these zones are zones where the teenage detainees, the girls under 18, are kept together where nobody can check on them. Press can't go there. Not that press can go inside anyway, but they can't talk to them. Members of Congress can't see them. No one will explain why they can't be seen. They are off limits to everybody. They have basically disappeared into a black hole at Dilley, a place that is already rife with systemic abuse of children and teenage girls.
I mean, this is the federalization of Epstein Island. I think that's a great way of putting it. Here is Zoran protecting people from getting criminally charged for the snowball fight. I think there were 2 officers who were facing lacerations on their face, Mamdani said, as of cops hit with snowballs in Manhattan. Asked if he thinks those responsible should be prosecuted, he said, I see the videos of the snowball fight. I think it was a snowball fight. Oh, wait, I thought he was abandoning us for the cops. I thought he was, oh, wait, you were dead wrong. You were doing propaganda and lies. Wow, you got tricked by right-wing ops. Oh, would you look at that? Mike vindicated in the same day. So you have to ask yourself, why are people trying to trash Zoran Mamdani and pretending like he's some sort of one like for the truth? Let me just go ahead and try to help it out. I lost my space. Okay, there we are.
Stuff coming out of Dilley already rife with systemic abuse of children, and teenage girls have been put away somewhere and no one knows what's happening to them. This by a federal government that about 12 or 13% of whom are affiliated with the Epstein ring. What the fuck is happening? When will enough Americans stand up and go, this is absolutely not okay? What is happening with the blue butterfly zones, you guys? This is only one of many things, but these are teenage girls. Raise the fucking roof on this. Would you please call your representatives? We need people in there. We need to know that those girls are okay. And we need these.
Like when you look at the people that support Trump on Twitch, whether it's your Chibi reviews, whether it's your Tectones, whether it's your Asmongold's, whether it's your Rich Campbell's, these are guys that have either personal credible associations next too. Yeah, all these guys. I mean, these are people that watch Lolly, which is animated sexual abuse of young children. That's what these guys are into. That's what these guys promote to each other. Tectoad is currently facing criminal charges for sexual assault and stalking and violating of protective orders. I mean, I know there's investigations going on. I don't know that he's been charged yet, but let's just say a judge has found it highly credible already. Which, by the way, chat, a judge finds that there is enough evidence for a civil determination against you in a stalking case. That is a higher standard than probable cause for an arrest or a search warrant. Like, a civil determination is a higher standard than an arrest warrant or a search warrant. And does it surprise you that now we have teenage girls possibly being predated upon in these concentration camps? In the comments, other users speculated wildly, while one person claimed there was also red bird and brown bear areas, arguing the labels might be meant to evoke positive emotions rather than signal something covert. The last point is not just internet hand-waving. A 2015 Los Angeles Times report inside the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dealey described the facility as being run by a private contractor that gave each neighborhood a theme color and an animal. So it is entirely possible that Blue Butterfly is simply an old label now being reinterpreted in the most ominous way imaginable. It is also possible that a named area is being used for a specific operational purpose that has not been explained publicly. And that is exactly why vague terminology makes people nervous. For readers outside the United States, Dealey is not a city most people could place on a map, yet it has long been a symbol in the argument over U.S. immigration detention. The South Texas Family Residential Center opened under Obama in December 2014 and was designed to hold large numbers of migrant women and children with a reported capacity as high as 2,400. This is the backdrop against which a phrase like blue butterfly zones catch fires. When the public cannot tell what a term means, who authorized it, and what safeguards exist, suspicion becomes the default setting. Who wrote this? Larissa. Sounds like AI to me. A responsible next step would be to mundane and measurable, not theatrical. Yeah, this is very AI coded to me. ICE and any family facility operator involved should explain in plain English whether Blue Butterfly is merely a housing label, whether or not it's used for age grouping, medical isolation, or protection. So, Blue Butterfly zones, what is it? What is this, Hyperfresh? What are you sending me?
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to...
Okay, listen. Maybe this woman is incredibly credible and awesome and everything, but I've never heard of her before, and she only has 200 views on the video, so I can't in good conscience play it, because unless I do my own. Wow, where are we at? I kind of want to check out this video, the one about the creator of the alt-right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple. Victory or death. Are you prepared to fight for Trump?
Who's the real president goes to?
Steve Bannon!
Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is an agent of chaos.
Steve Bannon. How did this one man create the alt-right, help Trump win the 2016 election as his right-hand man, build a gold mining farm in World of Warcraft valued at over $1 billion, travel to speak with leaders in Russia, China, Korea, Iran, and many more, all to end up behind bars in 2024?
We'll see what happens with Mr. Bannon.
This book I'm holding is The Devil's Bargain. It's basically the beginning of Steve Bannon's downfall. It's interviews with him and a journalist explaining his involvement with Trump and his campaign, and it's the reason why Trump fired him from his team in the first place. Because Bannon claimed Trump couldn't win without him, and Trump took that personal. This book was truly the devil's bargain.
But he lost.
It may grant his wish of being known as the architect that pushed Trump into power, but the consequences are far worse. This is the story of Steve Bannon and how his impact on politics changed the world forever.
Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Old South.
Steve Bannon was born in 1953 in Virginia with 5 siblings to an Irish Catholic family full of what he says were Democrats. Democrats back then didn't hide their racism or act like they wanted to make change like liberalism is today. In Virginia around 1953, Democrats stood against the civil rights movement, and the South was very much against any sort of racial progress or equality. Bannon went to a high school that people would call a right-wing military Catholic school. His school in total was about 400 students. The school curriculum involved teaching that Catholicism fought against Muslims to save the world 400 years ago, and that's what his high school classmates were saying. This is his first introduction of Islam, which will shape his extreme views on Muslims that will exist throughout his entire life and will be amplified by confirmation bias. He basically believes he's at war with them no matter where he is in his life. After high school, Bannon would go to Virginia Tech, where his views would only become stronger and louder because he saw how popular it could make him. At Virginia Tech, Bannon ran for president of the student government, focusing on negativity, targeting people with aggressive language, something that would not be lost on him in the future. The people he ran against in college would be asked years later about the campaign, and they would be quoted saying it wasn't fun. And he was basically a menace focusing on negative stuff, and in hindsight, that mirrored Trump's campaign in 2016.
He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
To my surprise, and I'm sure many others, they also said he was a good-looking, articulate guy when he was younger and always had good-looking women around him. During Bannon's presidential campaign at Virginia Tech, someone wrote a negative piece about him in the school newspaper. Bannon's roommate would get into a fight with someone because of this and push an opponent off the stage that would make headlines in the paper. Bannon would take 60% of the vote and win the election. It's genuinely interesting how you can follow these people's lives and mark where their extremism is amplified and see how these moments shape their worldview, which later impacts the world we exist in. After Virginia Tech, he joined the Navy. Something I found really funny is he played basketball while in the military and was a ball hog, and people gave him the nickname Coast to Coast. But the reason this is so funny to me, because if you've played basketball and you've played with the ball hog, you know exactly what kind of person this is. They have no regard for anyone on the court. They have zero self-awareness. This is just very on par with everything I know about Bannon.
He's a fucking ball hog. There's nothing better about nothing feels better than a good pass. When you just bamboozle people with a nice pass, that is the funniest thing you can do.
Tearful Shah of Iran left his country today on a vacation from which he may never return.
He has to give us back the Shah.
While Bannon was in the Navy, Iran had overthrown their US-backed leader, the Shah of Iran. The Shah would escape and would come to the United States to be treated for cancer. Because the US was protecting the Shah and not sending him back to Iran to be held responsible for his crimes of torture, murder, and imprisoning thousands of innocent people, they would respond to this by taking American citizens hostage from the embassy in Iran. The president at the time, Jimmy Carter, would put together a secret plan called Operation Eagle Claw, where helicopters would go in and rescue these hostages. However, this would turn out to be one of the worst military missions of all time. Out of 8 helicopters, 1 couldn't take off, 2 had to turn around because of a sandstorm. The rest of the helicopters decided to move forward. Carter would later call them off, and on the way back, one of the helicopters would crash into a fuel tanker, killing 8 soldiers. Bannon had spent much of his time in the Navy at sea in the Middle East, but days before Operation Eagle Claw, he was sent to Pearl Harbor.
2 of our American aircraft collided on the ground.
So watching this all play out from afar when he could have been there was another moment that shaped him. This is what he had to say. I didn't care
Amazing what
that much about politics.
That action failed, and people would overplay that shit for so long. God, I remember the Carter accident being taught in my history class. Conservatives were so fixated on those 8 dead soldiers as if it was the end of the fucking world. Then Bush comes into office and thousands upon thousands are dying and being maimed. And the same people that would cry tears of blood over those 8 did not give one ounce of a shit.
But then you see a guy like Carter and how up things can get. My political views formed by seeing how a weak man can get you into a Middle East debacle like that. Bannon, of course, blamed all of this violence on Islam, completely ignoring America's involvement in Iran's politics, overthrowing their democratically elected government in 1953 because of the threat of nationalizing their oil. And of course, if they nationalize their oil, America can't exploit that country as much, so they decided to overthrow the government. But Bannon's anger and frustration towards Muslims would continue to shape his view on the Middle East, growing increasingly more volatile. And after the Navy, Bannon would join the Pentagon, feeling inspired by Ronald Reagan's rise to presidency. But the CIA had him pushing too many pencils, so he soon realized after working in the Pentagon that he couldn't make any changes there. Even if he worked there for the rest of his life, his power would always be limited. So he leaves the Pentagon and he decided to apply to Harvard and would get accepted due to his time served in the Navy. While at Harvard, his main focus was just to get on the honor roll because he knew he didn't come from money, so he thought this was a way to separate himself from the rich folk. I want to point out here that even back then he understood the differences in classes and how the rich didn't accept the poor, and it's funny how when these people become rich, they just treat poor people the same exact way. After graduating from Harvard, he struggled to find work even after getting on the honor roll. The main reason was because he was 29 and that was considered old in Wall Street back in the day. Still, he was applying for jobs on Wall Street, and this is the Wolf of Wall Street type vibes in this era.
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, wannabe, big-time, small-time, talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
The peak of where people are getting filthy rich, he applied to everywhere he could and he was denied from all of them. But one day he decided to go to an in-person event with Goldman Sachs, and he saw a crowd of people and decided to hang it up because he thought he wasn't going to have an opportunity to talk to anyone. Instead, he would sit down and have a beer in the area and end up talking to two strangers about baseball, his military time, and his love for Ronald Reagan. It so happened that one of these strangers' dad was the owner of the firm, and it would land him a job
every time.
I knew his dad. I knew my dad owns Goldman Sachs, Steve Bannon. Now you get a job because I liked that you like Ronald Reagan.
This is what they call meritocracy under capitalism.
At Goldman Sachs. Now, I didn't know this until reading this book and learning about Bannon, that Goldman Sachs back in the day used to do this tactic called the White Knight strategy, where they would protect smaller companies from hostile takeovers and corporate raiders, essentially protecting the little guys. Now, to me, this seemed kind of like an honorable job, at least in the...
No. It's not an honorable job. No, it's not. What they do is they hear that somebody might want to buy a company, so they go buy their shares, which drives up the cost of the company and makes the bid have to go higher. And it's a win-win. Either they fail to and their shares get acquired at a premium and they profit, or they can unload, as rumors of the possible takeover happen, they could unload their shares to dumb dopes that pile in late. There is no honor on Wall Street.
World of Wall Street, and Bannon would fit in perfectly because he felt like he was back in the war room. Even though Bannon did good work of being the supposed good guy in the industry, one of his coworkers would say Bannon's personality was more fitted for the opposite role of being the people doing the hostile takeovers. He did this role for about 3 years, but these 3 years would set up the rest of his life after getting...
It's crazy how people overinterpret words. Hostile takeover doesn't mean evil takeover. So, all right, let's keep going.
Involved into investments in the entertainment industry. The time frame here is around the early 90s. In Hollywood, there was a huge crash out due to corruption and banks over-investing in movies. This crash lowered the price of 30 Hollywood studios that would be called the Dirty 30. Bannon
we used to have 30 Hollywood studios? Damn! 30, holy shit. We used to have 30 Hollywood studios. Got like 4 now.
At this point had quit Goldman Sachs, and investors were looking to swoop in and pick up these studios at a low cost. Because of Bannon's experience at Goldman Sachs and his understanding of investments in the entertainment industry, they looked to him to help sell these studios. So when he was selling one of these studios, he was talking about how great of a deal it was. And so they said, if it's such a great deal, then take royalties and waive your fee. Bannon understood that it was a risk and he was just selling them, so in the beginning, he would say no, but eventually he would waive his fees and take royalties from shows that the studio put out. That studio was in the 3rd season of what at the time was a very average TV show called Seinfeld. Seinfeld would blow up the next season and would be Bannon's ticket to
Steve Bannon. If you want to understand that, like, most of these guys are just lottery winners, Steve Bannon got hired because he randomly met Goldman Sachs CEO's son and they talked about baseball, and it got him a job because he was a subpar salesman. So he had to like take shares of shows just to get deals done. And one of the lottery tickets he accidentally got was Seinfeld.
Real wealth. There's obviously a lot of work and effort that goes into these deals, but talk about the sheer luck of buying into Seinfeld at season 3. It's like buying Apple early. He said this gave them more money than anyone ever predicted. This part of the story is very important because the studio he was now involved in and writing contracts for was 30 Rock. 30 Rock back then was doing numbers. They were working with some of the biggest stars: Jerry Seinfeld, Rob Reiner, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, and Jack Nicholson, just to name a few. All of the success of these stars in the studio. Meanwhile, no one knows who little Steve is putting all of this together in the background, and it's maybe some insight on why he couldn't stay in the background for Trump. Bannon has a famous quote that says, "Brother, Hollywood doesn't make movies where the bad guys win." He's correct. That's why you should subscribe, because I am not making crazy movies, but this is where you will find—
Hell yeah, chat. Hell yeah. Okay, chat, listen. My dad almost got a job on Wall Street just because he was known as cool on campus. He didn't take it because he had a coke habit already.
Information about bad guys winning. It won't always be about one guy or a person. It could be people, companies, or ideologies. I would love to go places and cover things on the ground, so that's the dream I'm pushing for. I also want to say I do see the comments of people saying I give too much of my own opinion. I'm just one guy, watching hours of interviews of the worst people in the world. I'm not a damn robot or an AI chatbot. These are all my own opinions. It's my voice. It's all I've got. But luckily on this video, Steve Bannon made it easy for me. A quote to understand how Bannon views himself in the world is "Darkness is good, Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, Satan, that's power." That's him saying that. I don't even really need to make an argument against him because he's doing it for us, comparing himself to literal villains.
Rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. Love that line.
So now we're in 2005 and Bannon would leave Hollywood on a one-way ticket to Hong Kong. Bannon would end up getting involved in a company called Internet Gaming Entertainment that would mine and sell gold for money. The only caveat is this gold wasn't real, it was virtual. Bannon created a monopoly of mining gold in World of Warcraft, and as insane as—
it's not mining gold, it's botting the game, killing all the NPCs, and selling it for real money, thereby making the game a lot less playable for people that, you know, actually wanted to play the game.
This story already is. It just gets weirder and weirder. His business partner was Brock Pierce from the Mighty Ducks. Their company would hire low-wage Chinese workers to mine gold all day in World of Warcraft to then sell that gold to players in the US. Now, when I was reading this, I was thinking, this is an insane business model. I don't really understand how big it could be. And then I read that their company was valued at $1 billion and would get outside investment of $100 million. People on messaging boards such as Wowhead, Thoughtbot, and Alakazam were growing very angry. These are message boards before Reddit and 4chan. They were massive. They were averaging about 1 billion views a day in 2006. We are now hitting another crossroad in Bannon's life that is very important. The gamers started to band together to attack his company because bots were spamming chats, causing gold prices to inflate, and basically taking the fun out of the game. They essentially created some sort of internet video game militia to target Bannon's gold farming areas in World of Warcraft, run mass reporting campaigns, and spam Blizzard, the company that owned World of Warcraft, to step in and stop Bannon's company, and it would be a successful campaign. And this campaign would eventually lead to Bannon's company being sued by World of Warcraft, which would crumble his company. And to all my gamers, this is the creation to pay to win games, because Blizzard would now offer gold to be bought in-game. So if you've ever hated microtransactions and how slimy it felt, well, you found your nemesis Steve Bannon, the creator of microtransactions and loot boxes. A quick side note on this is, while I was making this video, new Jeffrey Epstein documents were released, and even Jeffrey Epstein was talking about microtransactions and how to introduce children into an economy. They were basically talking about how to get kids to consume at a very young age, and they were using video games as the platform to do that. It's very weird stuff. Now back to Bannon. This time period was super important for Bannon because it showed him just how crazy and dedicated the gaming world is, which at the time was 99% men. This gave him a deep insight into places like 4chan, Reddit, and the rising popularity of the right-wing pipeline across gaming and the internet.
Oh, Chris Ray Gun! Wife with a purpose, Chris Ray. Oh, it's so funny because Chris Ray Gun is now woke. Chris Ray Gun is now woke.
I was walking around the rock desert from the Saiyan saga when I saw Kakarot, and he was like, "Hey, look, I'm a Saiyan," and I said, "You're barely a Saiyan. I'm the real Super Saiyan. Everybody else is dumb compared to me. When I get my hands on Frieza, the world will know that I was the real Super Saiyan all along. The Prince Vegeta." Royal Prince Vegeta, Prince of all Saiyans, that's what they call me. I'm going to have blonde hair and I'm going to kill everybody. I can't sleep. I was walking around the...
He's a good guy now.
Took a different stance than what mainstream media does. He was building platforms and his future news network to not think about traffic and sheer numbers of people visited, but instead you think about...
People could change. It's a good thing. It's a good thing when they do. We should celebrate that.
Like building a community. Bannon said he actually held a lot of respect for the people that took down his company, and he was quoted saying, "These guys, these ruthless white males, had monster power. They had no one to answer to, they could mobilize instantly, they could go on Reddit or 4chan or whatever and just blow things up. And oh boy, did he take advantage of that." After spending this time in the gaming industry, Bannon unlocked a new talent, a new domain expansion, where he understood how to talk and weaponize a younger generation. After Bannon unlocked his new talent, he would link with Andrew Breitbart, the owner of Breitbart News.
Truth is a trap. I love confrontation, by the way. And by the way, you should too, because it's the only way we're going to win.
To understand how their personalities clicked, one of Andrew Breitbart's most famous quotes was, "I realize I like being hated more than I like being liked. That's when the game began."
Behave yourself! Behave yourself! No, serious! Go to hell! Chill. You are freaks and animals! You're trying to divide America! Freaks and animals! Class warfare is not American! Filthy! Murdering freaks!
So Bannon joins Breitbart News, and it was a good fit for him because he had been doing this type of media since the Obama presidency, where he was making documentaries after documentary about immigration and how it was ruining the country. And the way Bannon made his documentaries was very interesting. He said he took inspirations from the German film director Leni Riefenstahl, who produced propaganda for the Nazi regime. Looking at some of Bannon's documentaries, he also made one claiming that socialism and left-wing ideologies had caused the financial crisis in 2008. So yeah, socialism was the reason for the bank collapse in 2008. It wasn't deregulation, greed of bankers, or even Wall Street.
Wait, Asmongold and Elon Musk are joining together to try to destroy Reform UK? Or another fascist party? Yes! Bro, the Greens are gonna end up winning it all. Restore Britain is at 7%. It will win. It must win to save Britain. Are you fucking kidding me? They're like dribbling idiots.
Deport the orcs from the Shire. Either that or the hobbits will get raped to death.
As far as I know, in the Lord of the Rings, they never talk about sexual crimes. As far as I know, it's never directly, anything like that is ever said. What the fuck? Legitimately, and I mean this, like, and I think Zach and Elon Musk both know it. They're a net negative. Like they make the world a worse place. Like they know it. They suspect it. They know it in their heart. What if tomorrow winked off into, you know, Star Trek Voyager showed up and transported them onto the holodeck? They would be very, very, the world would just be a better place, you know? It's all happening on X, the Everything app. Hey, whatever happened to the Everything part of the Everything app?
The $700 billion that came from taxpayer dollars bailing out the banks.
I propose that the federal government reduce the risk posed by these troubled assets and supply urgently needed money so banks and other financial institutions can avoid collapse and resume lending.
The only thing that propped up these spineless, gutless people and companies taking advantage of normal people that would never be punished. Whatever. The owner of Breitbart News, Andrew Breitbart, would die in 2012.
Right-wing blogger Andrew Breitbart dead at the age of 43.
And Bannon would take over the media platform immediately after. With Bannon leading the way, Breitbart found its role in the media as what they would describe as the platform of the alt-right. He framed it as a place built for right-wing men who felt alienated, angry, and ignored by mainstream culture, using words like men that are dispossessed and politically homeless, where they could fight back and be used as battering rams against the culture or woke culture. Bannon understood that he couldn't be the face of it, and he needed to bring in someone who could connect with the younger generation, especially on a physical level of how they looked. Enter Milo Yiannopoulos.
He is the controversial senior editor of Breitbart News and author of the upcoming book Dangerous, Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo.
Yiannopoulos is a man Steve Bannon described as looking like a gay hooker. He would lead the charge on what we call today Gamergate.
First, though, we want to also ask you about the alt-right.
The press seems determined to crown me the queen of it. All I've done is give them a fair hearing in the press. I think that white identity and white nationalism is a little misleading. I think it's more accurate to say that the alt-right cares about Western supremacy rather than white supremacy. It cares about Western values. It cares about liberal, capitalist, Western democracy.
Yiannopoulos would get things started writing articles at Breitbart calling to gamers, saying gamers are revolting against a corrupt press. Feminism is cancer, and this is a war between gamers and SJWs, which means social justice warriors.
I've taken some time out of my busy schedule, being fabulous and doing my hair, to prepare a speech for you. Well, a few remarks, really. Feminism is cancer. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what's revolting. What's revolting is the body
This guy, the Frosted Tips 2010 is crazy, dude. It was out of, like, he's so uncool, and he's also not very good at trolling. The thing about Milo is he just you know, he just represents a he represents the right. It's like, we're gonna get a gay guy to perform like a minstrel show. They love their minstrel shows on the right. They love getting somebody who's a big sellout to perform a minstrel show for them. Whether it's Nick Fuentes, whether it is Milo, it's all the same thing. We're gonna get the non-white white supremacist. We're gonna get the anti-queer queer guy.
positivity movement. The gender pay gap is a sort of myth. What's revolting is this idea now that you can tell women that they'll be healthy at any size. Why? Because it tells women that you can be fat and you can be unattractive and you'll be happy anyway.
Gamergate would go even further and expand into arguments about female programmers, the inclusivity of video games. This conversation is still very much happening today.
The problem with women in games, well, there's a lot of them.
Yiannopoulos wasn't just a keyboard warrior, though.
Wow, man, what an amazing argument from that fucking rat. Jesus Christ.
He was the Charlie Kirk before Charlie Kirk. He was going to college campuses and arguing his viewpoints, mostly anti-establishment, and attacking the idea of being politically correct. If you are not entrenched in politics, you might ask, why is that important, or how does this relate to political power? But that's the thing, Bannon understood this. He understood that pulling in people such as gamers off of controversial issues would push them down the right-wing pipeline to read more and more articles from Breitbart News. Breitbart would create an allegiance of young men that started to care about politics through the lens of how Bannon shaped them. If you look at the media landscape today, Breitbart played a large part in amplifying and pushing the careers of some of the worst people on planet Earth. Some ex-employees of Breitbart are Stephen Miller, Homeland Security Advisor to Trump, the guy waging war on the US with ICE, Ben Shapiro, who is, well, Ben Shapiro.
He had a formative impact on me. Frankly, I think that Daily Wire would not exist without Andrew Breitbart. I think a lot of us in the conservative movement wouldn't be what we are without Andrew Breitbart.
Sebastian Gorka, who is deputy assistant to Trump.
Do you believe it's okay to skirt due process?
Never happened. Due process has never been skirted. This is another fake news canard.
Some judges, including those appointed by President Trump, disagree.
Well, so what?
Some serious heavy hitters here.
Oh, damn, what an amazing argument he's made. What an amazing argument. So what?
With major influence. While at Breitbart, Steve Bannon would meet billionaire Robert Mercer.
Okay, chat, this is actually a really great video, and it's commenting a lot of issues that we need to zoom in more. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. It's pretty damn good. It's noon. I gotta get out of here, chat. So I'm gonna do that. There's all my socials. Hit the follow button. And remember, if you want more Mike from PA, we now have a highlights channel. Our most recent is, why is Ethan Klein ignoring this? Destiny, the omniliberal, triples down on calling Ethan Klein a pedophile. Will Ethan continue to allow Destiny to push this narrative about him without addressing it? It's important to understand that we're not accusing Ethan Klein of being a pedophile. We're just flabbergasted that he's not commenting on Destiny calling him a pedophile who likely molests his own children. Ethan, sue Destiny for saying you molest your children before it's too late. Doesn't mean it's true. It's just an accusation that should be responded to. Because again, Ethan Klein has said how much he admires Destiny.
This is a guy I used to be friends with in real life who's met my family and
Look at
stuff.
how good the editing is, chat. They are polishing a turd into a diamond here. The editors are they're firing on all cylinders, man. You guys gotta get in here, like, comment, and subscribe. It's fucking cinema. They pop the fuck off. Okay, get in there. All of Destiny's enemies, and he's calling you a pedophile, you loser. So if Destiny's saying he molests his children, that's different than just some random nobody who's just making an obviously defamatory statement.
There are certain things you don't joke about. You don't joke about.
Yes, my account. God, it's so good. The editors are cooking. Oh, the chatter, like, honestly, they are cooking. So make sure you're in there. Make sure you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're recommending. If you see a Mike video popping up in your recommended feed or your subscription feed, make sure you like it. And before we go, I'm gonna say thanks for supporting the stream. You guys are the best. I'm sending, let's go, Mike from PA, 20K subs. You mean on Twitch or on? I have 23,000 on YouTube. We are pushing together. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. I'm sending you over to VO. Perhaps there will be some cat reveals. I promised to get cats when we broke 10K. Promises made, promises kept. Promises made, promises kept. So the cat reveal, the kitty reveal is being done over on VO stream. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever, my friends. That's how socialism wins. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Say hi to VO for me. Bye. Free Palestine. Bye.